Hello, I'm Richard Dinnick, and I write for Big Finish and BBC Books, and you're listening to Travelling the Vortex.
We join the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and land at episode number 50, The Reservation of the Daleks. Because we are reserving this episode for Dalek 3, a.k.a. Davros 2. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Glenn.
How was your guys' week?
Very good. Very good.
In the history of good weeks, this has got to rank up there.
Oh, that's good. I had a good latter half of the week. My sister came into town from Maryland, so it's been really nice seeing her.
Your sister from Maryland.
My sister from Maryland.
I got you to say it.
She's from Kansas, but she lives in Maryland.
She does now.
She's still a Kansan. She's just transplanted in Maryland. There's nothing Maryland about her. Total Kansan.
So your sister from Maryland is in visiting.
Yes.
Cool. How is she?
She's good.
So is your brother from Hawaii?
Yes.
It's her
So
first...
I'm the only one that has a sibling from Kansas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's her first trip home without her husband.
Oh, she came without?
Yeah, she came without her husband, Ricardo.
Oh.
Is there a reason for that, or just...
He...
I mean, it's not like...
I don't think he
Probably couldn't get off.
Yeah, I don't think he could get off work.
Okay,
and
it's not like there's a...
there's no issue there.
Okay, that's right. I was concerned initially. It's her
Things
first
are
time,
a little rocky.
You know, first time without the husband. Oh, I missed out on that story earlier. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay.
No, everything's fine there.
Okay,
She-
good.
She was a little nervous flying. It was her first time flying alone, but it all went well. And she came in for my dad's 60th birthday and surprised him.
Happy birthday to your dad.
Yes, happy birthday to my
When is
dad.
that?
It was the 6th.
Well, happy birthday to your dad a little belatedly.
A little belated.
Did I-
Is
did I miss that?
in our typical style of
What do you
belated birthdays.
Yeah, you can just lay off me right now with that. I have not yet developed the algorithm that's going to search that out so I can get those posted on time. Did I know that it was your dad's birthday earlier this week?
I thought I mentioned it. I didn't think you were friends with my dad on Facebook. You're friends with my mom, but I don't think you're friends with my dad.
I should probably rectify that. But I don't wish half the people on Facebook a happy birthday that I should either.
That's okay.
I like half as well of you as much as you like, and the other half of you less than you deserve.
I feel really bad. I felt like a bad son because I got up a little late, was rushing to get to work, and then work was so busy I didn't have time to call him. And by the time work slowed down enough, he would have been in bed.
You're such a rotten son.
I know.
Oh, terrible.
I did take the 5 seconds to post on his wall "Happy Birthday," so at least I did that on Facebook. But I still
counts.
I got him a gift too. So
If you were a Dalek, you'd be the one that Davros wanted to have reconditioned. I got to tell you.
it's Glenn's fault.
What?
He was on vacation.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's why you were so busy at
That's
work.
why I was so busy at work.
Because one
I was
of us who works
essentially
with you, and it's not me,
2 hours of the
had,
show.
had to take another staycation.
I did. I had to get it out of the way. I'd lose it at the end of the year.
I don't blame you at
Not
all.
my fault.
I have Monday and Tuesday off, so
Yeah, so
So how was your staycation?
it was good. I didn't do anything fun. We worked around the house getting it ready for family coming for Christmas. We painted a room and did some thorough deep cleaning, not that surface cleaning, that go pick one room one day, go top to bottom, pick another room another day, go top to bottom.
So like spring cleaning, but in winter.
Pretty much, yeah.
House of black cleaning.
Winter cleaning. Yeah, house of black cleaning. Yeah. No,
had
it
to get
was,
rid of all the whatever they were that were hiding in the cupboard and the curtains and
so
screaming
yeah.
portraits on the walls.
And that was pretty much it. So, yep, top to bottom, house cleaning, and then decorating. Well, we had decorated for Christmas 2 weeks ago, but we decided that we wanted to do our basement this week, so we got another tree and decorated that tree, and then put up our village and stuff that we didn't put up with the stuff upstairs. Added it downstairs since we're having family. We thought we'd have both levels. We, scream Christmas. So, although I went down and Caitlin and I did it ourselves, pretty much. We went down there, put the tree up, put the ornaments on. We decorated it all in Disney because we used to have Disney tree a long time ago. And all these great Disney ornaments, and I absolutely love Disney. And I wanted to do it this year, and both kids kind of squeamed because they have their favorite ornaments that we always put on the tree every year. and that's a hodgepodge of like Sesame Street and Muppets and
It's a trash
Star
flash tree.
Wars. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's everything.
No, that's what I grew. Every year my mom would say, "Hey, maybe we should come up with a theme for this year." And every year, my brother and I would look at her like she had gone stark raving mad. Because that's not a Christmas tree. Christmas tree should be green, lights should be multicolored, ornaments should be chaotic.
Yes.
That's what it should look like. And she was all about this.
should be
I'm
tinsel
gonna,
cloths.
make it look pretty. And it's like, no. Trash flash. That's what it's supposed to look like. It's not a Christmas tree if it doesn't
Well,
look like trash flash.
Our Christmas tree will be, once we get it finished,
We'll have a themed Christmas
we'll
tree.
have a sci-fi.
Themed.
A sci-fi theme.
So anyway,
Christmas
Caitlin and I
sorry,
went-
continue with your
Caitlin, that's all right.
Continue.
Caitlin and I went down in a cave, and we were in there for hours, and we got everything put together. And I came upstairs, and Holly looked at me. I said, "Did you want to go look at it?" And she goes, "Yeah." Christmas didn't throw up in there, did it? What do you mean? She said, well
it's
you guys
you,
were
Glenn."
down there an awful long time. You took a lot of decorations down there with you. I said, no, it's okay. It's very tasteful. It's done. The Disney tree, the village, and then I said, I added one little thing. She says, okay. So she went downstairs, and she walked in, and she saw the tree. She said, that looks so nice in the village. And then she looked over, and I had put all of her snowman collection out on the piano, which we hadn't been able to put out for years, mainly because of young kids and breakable things and things like that. So years and years and years, these snowmen have been in a box, and I found them this year, and I put them all out on the piano. So.
I totally, until you said that, I'd totally forgotten that Holly collected snowmen.
Yeah,
I had
so-
forgotten all about that.
We have got all her snowmen out on the table.
That is
Very
awesome.
nice.
Anyway, that's been my busy week. Not as busy as working 4 shows or how many ever you had to do this week because you got lazy anchors.
It wasn't too bad. Kelly and Ben did a good job of covering the 9
Oh,
for
good.
the most part. I pitched in and helped some, but I didn't help a lot.
Oh, good.
That hour-long 6 o'clock and then the 10, you can't help with the 9.
No, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. Those shows are so close together.
And then, real briefly, speaking of Disney, you saw Muppets.
I did see the Muppets, and
With the
it gives
family.
my A1 stamp of approval, and everybody loved it. So
Yay. Even Mason and
Mason absolutely loved it. He's been dying
he's
to
been-
see
yeah,
it,
he's
'cause
been
every morning.
raring.
Every morning he watches Disney Channel, and you're just inundated with commercials and the Muppets on all these different guest appearances and things like this all week. And so he's just been so wanting to see the Muppets. And Caitlin was very pleased with it, and she enjoyed it. So
Good.
Ooh, we were thinking about taking Sarah's nephew Audie to a first movie because not too long, this past week, he sat on Sarah's lap and watched Toy Story all the way through. So we're thinking of taking him to the cheap theater.
that's what we did.
Yeah, and hopefully the Muppets will be there by then.
That's a good idea.
If not,
Yeah,
it might
not a
be
bad idea.
it might have to be Happy Feet too. But yeah, but he likes Happy Feet. He's almost 3, so
You should correct him of that now.
he does.
Well, he doesn't. He doesn't.
I
he doesn't
tried.
know that the environmentalists beat you over the head about 3/4 of the way through the movie.
Well, it's not even that. It's just not a good movie. But
No, it's good. It's
You've
cute.
got to
It's just-
mold their
makes
young
you
minds.
feel
We're
really,
trying
really
to
silly.
mold
Cruddy.
his young mind into a geek.
It's like midnight. It makes me feel terrible about humanity. 2/3 of the way into it.
At least we agree on that.
They were flipping channels not too long ago. I want to say it was Thanksgiving weekend and landed on Star Wars and left it on for a while. And he kind of sat there watching, and then later was talking about Darth Vader. I don't know if he said it by name.
Kids always
but then-
on Vader.
But then he said, he's a good guy.
Oops, you better fix that very early on.
Yeah.
He is
It's
a good
okay
guy.
to like Darth Vader.
He's a
but-
good guy for the Empire.
Yeah.
Who's evil.
He's a tragic hero.
He is a tragic
He
hero.
is a
good
tragic
guy.
He ends up being a good guy.
Oh, wait, we're spoiling it for Mark.
Mark, we're sorry.
Oh, yeah. Because...
Don't go into it. Just
Well, he's still in Empire.
Yeah,
Mark is still in Empire.
Mark is still
Yes.
slogging through the awesomeness of Empire, which I like to think is it's just that awesome.
It's too much awesome
It's
to
so
sit through
much
at once.
awesome that his brain is
It's
unable to
slogging
comprehend.
through the
Slogging through the awesomeness
through
of
the
Empire.
awesomeness of Empire. That's just wrong.
No, it's
Slogging?
That's how much
Slogging
awesome
is
is
like
contained.
slogging's like a negative or a derogatory term.
Well, it is.
Slogging
It's like
through.
trying
No,
to
you're
watch
not
all of Series 6 of Doctor Who. It's just too much awesome to take in one
it's-
sitting.
See,
But you wouldn't slog
No,
through
no,
it.
you would if you weren't prepared for it. See, we hit it at that right. We were molded early, so Star
know
Wars
how
came out,
awesome it is.
and our brains exploded, and then we were ready for Empire. So it wasn't slogging for us. But
You had
because
been waiting
I don't
forever
think
for
in
this.
any way is it slogging.
he had
But
not
for
been.
anybody.
What's the word I'm looking for? prepped, preconditioned, primed.
Or you said on a P word.
It's what's it called in the baking shows when they make something in advance?
Preheated?
No,
Prepped.
no, it's not even a P word
Pre-made?
necessarily. He hadn't been that, and so now his primitive mind is struggling with how awesome Empire really is, and so he is slogging through the awesomeness of Empire, and eventually he'll get caught up to speed, and then he'll be with the rest of us. But
Okay.
Yes. Before we head on the news, I have a bit of personal Doctor Who related news.
Okay.
I hope
now
you're going to
have-
talk about it.
Yeah, I now
Because
have.
I was going to segue if you didn't.
I now have a Tom Baker-esque scarf.
Yeah, esque. Yeah, very esque.
It's about half the length of the actual Tom Baker scarf.
But it
It
is.
looks even less than half now that I see it on you. But
Well, but it's longer than a normal scarf.
It's longer than a normal
It is
scarf.
not Doctor Who length, but
It's not Doctor Who length, but it's the Doctor Who pattern.
And keep in mind, I mean, Keith, you put this thing on, and it still comes down to
Oh yeah,
below his pockets. So
it. When I stand,
don't brag on his scarf. It's not a Doctor Who scarf.
shush.
It's not. It's,
When I
it's
stand,
just-
the
it's
tassels
a
reach my knees.
multicolored scarf.
It is a multicolored scarf
It's
in the
it's
style.
beautiful
of Doctor Who.
work. It looks great. Sarah
It's-
did a fantastic
it's-
job on it, and I love the
it's
color
a
pattern.
modified.
It's not a Doctor Who.
It's a modified Doctor Who
modified.
scarf.
Okay, I'll give you that. It's modified Doctor Who.
It's a shortened Doctor Who scarf.
Modified would imply though that it was long at one time, and then you shortened it. So
We modified the pattern.
there you go. Modified pattern of a Doctor Who scarf. That's what we'll call it.
Regardless, it's awesome.
He thinks I'm picking on you.
Regardless, it's awesome.
It
and
is
you don't
awesome.
have one.
I think you should. I think you should have went full size. No, it's not awesome.
Sick
But
burn.
you
What
should
do you
have
mean
went.
it's not
for you,
awesome?
it's awesome. But you should have went full size, Keith. I'm sorry. That's just
No,
that's
I like-
a cop out. I just want a scarf, but I want the pilot.
I want the Doctor Who pattern.
Okay.
I just don't. I don't want to deal with that much
Hang
scarf.
on.
Congratulations. I like
Have
your
you gotten compliments on it yet from people outside of the circle?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Have you worn it outside the circle?
Yes, but
Was it
not,
inside
not
the code
much.
or like?
No, it was out. But
You will begin to get compliments. On
I'm
it.
sure I will.
I'm forecasting this. You will get prediction.
My-
predictions.
I'm not lessening the fantasticness of the look of the scarf.
My
It's
my
a
family,
very attractive
despite
scarf.
not
not
knowing
Doctor Who
who,
scarf.
like
Now, here's one for you. Maybe I should go get mine. He went with a darker brown.
I didn't choose the
I kind
colors.
of like the
honestly.
darker brown, to be honest.
This
Well,
is
suppose-
this is authentic.
Supposedly,
These are the authentic colors.
Yeah,
I don't remember changing it for mine, but maybe I did because Kara and I just went and picked yarn. I said I like that one, that one, that one,
Right.
and I had the list that was, and I don't think it was specific. I think it was just brown and then tan, and I went. So maybe I got confused somewhere along the line, but mine's more of a caramel color brown, and his is a deep, rich chocolate brown.
I love the color scheme and pattern on it. It looks fantastic.
It's a Tom Baker
Keith,
pattern.
I am
scarf.
giving you a hard time. It is a very awesome scarf, and I'm really just picking on you. I'm trying to poke a bear over here. And it's not working.
Glenn's just jealous.
Yeah, I'm
That's
jealous.
that's
Actually,
that's
I'm
what
more-
it comes down to.
I'm more jealous of Sean's scarf because it is actual length. But
Yeah, but
yours is pretty cool.
you would if you had an option of a shorter length or no scarf.
no scarf.
Real no,
Yeah,
no.
I'm not going to beat this, but that is not to me not a Doctor Who scarf. It's an awesome scarf. I love it, but it's not a Doctor Who scarf. It has to be the long, wrap it around your head a couple of times because you're tripping over it scarf to be a Doctor Who scarf. I appreciate the pattern. I'm glad that you chose
It's the
Tom Baker pattern. That's fantastic.
I almost. I'm not going to say that I agree with him, but if you're going to go with this length of scarf, I almost think you need to go with the Sylvester McCoy scarf. Which
There
is
you
not
go.
knit,
If you
but
had
it's,
done, if you had a Sylvester McCoy patterned scarf that was that length, I'd have said, "Hey, that's a Seventh Doctor scarf."
that very. But his is kind of paisley, and I don't like paisley.
I don't like Paisley either. And it's not.
I wouldn't have gone with the Seventh Doctor scarf, but I would have said, "Hey, that's a very cool Seventh Doctor scarf."
But how many people besides this group would recognize a Seventh Doctor scarf?
Nobody.
People would just see
nobody. They'd see a Paisley
a Paisley
scarf,
scarf.
and they'd go, "Oh, why'd you choose Paisley?
See,
It's not even in now."
people will probably see this and say, "Hey, that's a Doctor Who scarf." Comment on it, and I can hand them a business card.
Now,
Don't lose them though.
do you
Jump in the pool with them or whatever.
do you remember going all the way back? I wrote a blog entry on the site about my Doctor Who scarf.
Yes, I do remember that.
And I talked about all the compliments that I got on it, and that scarves.
Well, people that didn't know it was a Doctor Who scarf,
I still get people. I had 4 people comment just this weekend, and only one of them knew it was from Doctor Who. The other 4 just thought it was a really cool looking scarf.
Yeah.
They loved the fact that it was
Super
longer
long.
than me.
Yeah.
And I predicted that scarves like this were going to be all of a sudden in vogue. Didn't I predict that?
The colors or the length?
Yes.
Both.
Yes.
Oh. And or
both. Yeah. And here
I haven't seen any yet.
Here's
that one.
Exhibit A, my friend.
But he's a
The
Doctor
first
Who
one.
fan.
Doesn't matter. I predicted it.
I don't count that. No, I don't count it. He's a fan.
If a
The fan's
non-Doctor
going
Who
to go
fan-
Doctor Who-esque, and that's what he
At the
did.
time I wrote that, we didn't know if he was going to be a fan.
How long ago did you write that?
That wasn't that
All
long
the way
ago.
back.
That wasn't that
That
long
was like
ago.
post number 4.
Yeah.
It was early.
Yeah, but he was already a fan by then.
Back when we were still
He was
doing
a fan
polls
by,
online.
We had him at hello. Or
That's how far
the
back
doctor
it
had
was.
him at hello. We knew he was going
Well,
to be a fan.
Yeah.
Although I don't think he had seen any Baker up to that point. Had he?
I haven't
had-
seen Annie Baker at that point. So I stand by it. It's a nice scarf.
Thank you.
It is a nice
And,
scarf.
and once again, Sarah, awesome job.
And
Yeah,
you
she did
can,
a
listeners, you can
fabulous job.
expect pictures on the website because I've committed you.
I will take pictures. I will get Sarah's cameras here somewhere, I think.
We still never put the really cool oud up on them.
Oh, we haven't got
Well,
the oud up yet, have we?
We didn't get all 4 of them together.
I know.
We didn't get Booed, Crude, Nude, and Howard together.
Crude. Was Crude one of them?
That was you.
Mine was Crude?
Yours was crude.
No,
Oh, I
no.
like Crude.
Yours was Tude.
Yeah,
I'm
see,
sorry.
Tude was the one I was like, eh.
Tude.
Crude
Because
is
you've
very
always got a
cool.
Tude.
Oh, like attitude. Actually, now that you say that, I like that. That is fitting.
Because you're always the grumpy bear.
Dude, I got you. I'm not always a grumpy bear. Been a couple occasions.
You're not always the grumpy bear. You're always very, very set in your convictions.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
true.
Yeah, that's not grumpy. That's just
It
stand
is
by
when it-
my convictions
stubborn.
and principles.
It
It's more of a mule than a bear.
it makes you a grumpy bear when those convictions don't jive with the rest of us.
And then you get irritated by it.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway,
It almost makes you an exaggerated caricature of a grumpy bear.
so I heard there was some news this
There
week.
is some. We have 3 bits of news.
3
that
bits?
we thought we'd talk about. The first bit, we'll save the big for last.
The most
You're just
important for
dying
us.
to get this out. Go ahead. Talk about yours first.
No, let's do the
prequel.
Yeah.
Is what I was going to say.
That's not what you were going
That
to say.
was what I was going to say. Glenn and I are on the same wavelength this
Prequel.
time. Prequel.
Came out this week.
Prequel for The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe came
We're
out.
going chronologically. I'll allow it.
No, I was thinking of importance, of the awesomeness of it. The prequel was really cool.
All right. I'll allow
The
that
other
too.
2, the next one's even cooler. And the last one we'll do is awesome.
Instead of ranking them, let's just talk about the prequel. What did you guys think of the prequel?
I don't know how I feel about it.
How you feel about it? You
Yeah.
didn't- Oh,
I liked
expound.
it. It was good, but it's a side of the Doctor we're not used to seeing before. And the way it ended, I'm interested to see
Oh,
how they
well.
picked that up.
It
But-
definitely
but-
does not feel like a prequel. It feels like here, we're going to show you the end of the episode, and you'll have to tune in to find out how we got to that point.
Yeah, it did. I mean, we're jumped in there without any exposition of what's going on.
I didn't get that at all. Now that I agree with. Yes.
He's on the phone with Amy, or on the phone with the TARDIS, talking to Amy as if she were there, and that's something I haven't seen my Doctor do before. Is be remorseful that he doesn't have a companion with him.
Okay, I'll allow that.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
It was a very different side to this Doctor, this incarnation of the Doctor, that we haven't seen before. And for me, that was a little unsettling. The fact that he was in this mortal danger and there's no one to save him. How is he going to get out of it? And I wish they could have expounded on it more and shown.
Well, it's a
how-
prequel.
I know, but I want more.
I'm expecting that we get a little bit of resolution in the
We better.
episode in 2 weeks. So I thought it was very cool. I liked that for as short and sweet as it is. I like the situation that it puts you in, where you don't know the exhibition that's set up. This what's happening now. why he's calling, initially why he's calling Amy.
Yeah.
And he kind of explains and expounds on it as
Yeah,
we go. And
which I did like that.
the fact
and
that
the
he
fact that
decides to let go of the button at the end. I know
he's on a spaceship headed towards
Spoilers.
Earth. By the way, Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Which was very fitting, especially
Yeah.
considering now that I've seen more Christmas specials.
Right.
And it's always something big happening.
At Christmas.
Yeah.
Some big disaster.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that was.
I liked it. I was
liked it
excited
too.
by it, although
It was New Doctor.
it was
Oh,
that in and of itself is exciting
Yeah.
to me. But I almost feel like the prequels have become old hat. Almost. I almost feel like, oh, hey, there's an exclusive blah, blah, blah of the new episode. And it's kind of like, okay, you're going to give us a little tiny segment of something
Little
that
tease.
may or may not have anything to do with the
with it,
rest of
yeah.
the episode.
Well, I think a lot of the prequels in Series 6 had a decent amount to do with the episodes.
Yeah, I mean, they
Well,
did.
especially the prequel for Episode 1 and... Oh, I mean, we never watched the prequel to Episode 13,
No, we never did watch that one.
which we just did, and that had a nice connection to it. So I don't know if I'd agree that they're old hat,
Well,
but
it's
a
not
nice
that they're bad.
setup.
I guess my frustration is if you're going to go through all the trouble to put this together, just make it part of the episode and give it to
Yeah,
me.
I kind of think so
you
too.
know.
It's almost like
Yeah, I can see
it's a
that.
promotional thing.
Yeah.
Is really what it
Oh,
is. And
yeah.
it's starting to feel that way. I can see where you're saying when they first started, they were exciting and fresh and new. Now it feels like a promo.
How long ago they've been doing
It
it?
feels like a tease. Well, since just this last season.
Stephen
right?
Moffat, I
Just-
think,
just
is really
Series
the,
6?
Yeah, he's really
Because
well.
they're not in Series 5.
I think there might be one or two in
Yeah,
there.
it seemed like we got prequels in Series 5, but maybe not. Maybe they just start. No, it wasn't. It was the Possible Astronaut. Was the very first
That's
one.
the first one I
Yeah,
really remember
so-
there being a big deal made about it.
Yeah, so that must be it. Well, speaking of New Doctor, well, let's talk a little bit about something that Sean discovered this week that we hadn't seen. It was New Doctor to us. New Doctor Who for us.
New Doctor Who
That
to
was
us,
the,
and new to anybody who hasn't picked up the Series 6
Six-
box
and
set.
if you pick it up, definitely watch these. There's
5.
4.
There's
No,
5.
there's 4.
There's 5.
One of them's listed as Night in the Doctor, but it's not.
Yeah.
There are 4 very good Night in the Doctor skits, and then
Well-
one prequel to Closing Time that they by chance called Night in the Doctor.
Which I don't. Yeah, I don't.
Anyway,
But-
Opening Night, is that what that was called?
Good night, bad night, good night.
Right.
Last night, first night.
And then what was the?
I'm sorry, the
that's
Craig
what-
one.
The Craig one was like,
Night in the Doctor.
yeah, it had a subtitle. It was like Night in the Doctor or something.
Hold
I
on.
thought it was
I'm
like
looking.
opening
Up all
night.
night,
Up all night.
Up All
yeah,
Night,
that's what it
yes.
was. Okay.
which didn't.
No, and it
Yeah.
didn't even have the Doctor in it.
Just-
But anyway, the
If you haven't
first 4
haven't
are
watched
cool.
these yet, if you have not purchased the box set, or I don't know if they're available online or not, spoilers. Just
It
throw
might
this
be.
out there.
Yeah, we definitely should throw that out there because we're going to talk about them. I don't know that we need to really.
Well, the first two are like cool.
The first 2 are very
Yes,
cool.
yes.
They're
kinda
Amy
hints.
The Doctor and the Amy.
and it-
the Amy.
The Amy.
The Doctor and Amy.
It hints at the fact of the Doctor sneaking out to have adventures with River.
One particularly.
Yeah. Well, both of them, really.
No, the other one he was leaving Maryland.
No, because when he opens the door, he calls out River, or he says, "I'll see you later, River. Tell Marilyn she's too late. She's got to take the biplane."
Oh, okay.
So-
I didn't get the river,
Which
part,
brings up
so,
a whole
okay.
other connotation of what went on that date.
But Sarah brought up a point afterwards. She's like, "Is that what dating life is like with the Doctor, or is that what married life is like with the Doctor?" Technically, at this point, they're married.
Well, when those, at least the first 2, with Amy on board the TARDIS, I don't get the impression that Wedding River Song had happened yet.
I almost get the impression when Amy says, "My life doesn't make any sense," and he says, "I know," that this is meant to be set during,
After Christmas Carol.
after Christmas Carol, but specifically before they've discovered that she's a ganger.
Yeah.
And that maybe that now they didn't really hype up on that because she's got other things on her mind with her memories.
Well, yeah,
and
she
he kind of explains that away.
about
But yet,
the
She's
Big
talking
Bang.
about, yeah.
and
The
Big Bang
resetting
2.0.
universe and
but it could also be that if she is a flesh at that moment, if that's her flesh avatar talking about, I have these memories, but they're not mine.
Right.
And so it very easily could tie in with that.
Yeah,
as
I get the
well.
impression those two for certain are while she was still traveling with him in the TARDIS prior to.
Well, then
Even Good Man
regardless,
Goes to War,
the two River episodes are.
I don't think so.
I think they are definitely
no,
after
because
marriage.
I don't think so because one definitely is because
They're back to back. It's
the
one
last
continuous
one-
story.
It's technically
it was
the same
one
night.
continued.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Well, what happens in the first one?
He picks her up and
It's the very first night she picks her up. He picks her up, and she's
she-
like,
she-
"I'm serving day one of my life sentence."
Oh, right. So at that point, I
That
guess what
w-
I'm saying is that incarnation of River, he is married to.
And any future incarnations that we see of River in that story, he would still be married to unless they get a divorce.
Not
Yeah, but
necessarily
no,
because they happen out of
there's-
order.
Yeah, there's the one.
But for
the
River,
one
they
where
would still be married.
she asks who's there. Well, I guess that would have been later River as well. Yeah, I suppose they all were probably then post marriage River.
Because even if it was a later Doctor, that means they would still be married.
Maybe.
Does it need to be an earlier Doctor for them to not be married? And almost, unless it's set before the Wedding of River Song, like if we get a definite, okay, this is before that.
Well, I guess if you think about it,
Any
River, the whole time that we've seen River on screen, she's been married to the Doctor until Let's Kill Hitler and Wedding of River Song.
Almost
Because those are all future incarnations of River we see up until
That's
that
true.
point.
almost
Those-
any
she's
time
already
we see
married,
Alex Kingston, pretty much, because we see River. It's not River, but it's Melody Pond and Impossible
but
Astronaut.
Even there, we've got Alex Kingston there, and we've got our Wedding River Song. That's what I'm saying is those two
are
the only pre
so far.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that-
at any rate, they were awesome.
yeah, they were.
They were very awesome.
and it shed a great deal of light on our discussion
From last week.
about River's character and the little things that Stephen Moffat may or may not have thrown in, and what potential future there could be for that. And wow, did it just completely blow holes in my theory?
Well,
So,
but it also fixed a lot of the holes that were already there
Yeah.
in this. I mean, it really fixes them without having to continue adventures with River. These kind of summarize some of the things that are going on.
I would love to see some of those.
I think you
dates,
still
though.
could do it, but,
It'd be so much
by
fun.
seeing these Night in the Doctor, that's almost to me telegraphed to me by Moffat that this is how I'm going to finish River's story by giving you these little pieces that fill in those little holes, and then
we don't
move on
have
and
to
come
see the
back.
entire budding relationship in next
Exactly.
season. This is a hint of how it's done. The Doctor doesn't sleep, so he goes out at night, and that's when they date.
Or
Okay,
he only sleeps a couple of hours.
Right.
or yeah. I don't know. The Doctor's never really been. Usually, when he's asleep, he's in a coma. I can't think of too many where he maybe a couple of the Pertwee era ones where he actually bedded down for the night. But
Yeah, no,
for the most part, he's.
I don't remember
Or
anywhere
you can say that about almost every TV show.
catching
Garrett.
catnaps. Oh, I have your mic. That's why. That's weird. My mic kept cutting out. I was like, "Oh, this is Keith's mic. That's why." So okay,
Well, good.
it's easier for me to fix.
Then
it.
it is plugged in the right way.
It is now.
Maybe should have labeled the mics then too.
Relabeled.
Well, they're all the mics
No,
are labeled.
these are labeled. These are not.
Yeah, but this is on the other end of this.
But that's what I'm saying.
But we
is
didn't.
Oh, I see.
We
So when you put it in
search
front
out
of
the
you, I
cord.
got you.
You should have gone. Yep, that's me.
There's tangent. All right.
Anyway, Night in the Doctor's awesome.
Night in the
Fantastic.
Doctor is off.
The,
If you haven't seen them, go watch
the
them.
Craig prequel.
It's
It's
very
not
cool.
that it's bad. I mean, it's Craig and Stormageddon.
It's
and,
just not
And
Night in the
Sophie,
Doctor.
we
and,
still have more
Sophie,
Sophie,
Yeah.
which
yeah.
is nice, but
Because we don't get a lot of Sophie.
no, she's kind of there and
She
gone.
leaves.
so. But there's no Doctor in that
No,
night.
no
in the
Doctor.
Doctor.
What's
You know-
it?
you know
We'll
my-
let
you know my
Keith
favorite
talk
thing?
about the next bit of news.
You know my favorite thing about the Night in the Doctor's, real
What's
quick?
that?
They said euphonium.
Euphonium.
They're trying to hide a euphonium. guiltily hide a euphonium. Has that ever been done successfully? And then he says, "Oh, it's a euphonium." Just the fact that they said it twice, I was like, "That's script writing. That's magic right there." When you can say euphonium, I'm going to say it again. Euphonium. I've said it 4 times now. I'm cool with Stephen Moffat.
Let's let Keith talk about this next bit of
I
news.
tweeted quite a bit about it, and
Yeah, endlessly.
it's exciting. And I posted it on the websites. If you haven't seen it, there's going to be a Doctor Who video game being released in the U.S. for the first time on a console. And that
in the US.
console,
First time in the US.
First time in the U.S. on a console. And that console will be a PS3.
Boo!
It will also be available on PC and Sony's new handheld device, Vita. So it's a company that's done apparently several really good games.
When's the release date?
Early 2012. They haven't set a definite release date, but it features Matt Smith and Alex Kingston on an adventure together. And it's called The Eternity Clock.
Love the title.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very cool.
cool title.
And from there's a teaser trailer for it, and from the premise, I mean, you don't know too much, but you learn a little bit about the Eternity Clock and that it documents every single thing that happens in the universe.
Or could happen.
Or could happen, yeah. So, very cool. And according to the game company, which is Supermassive Games, you will learn to master the complexities of time travel with exceptional time-based gameplay. Challenges made in one time will impact another, creating multiple possibilities and challenging players to solve puzzles across the centuries.
You know, I've decided the only way that would work is if Moffat wrote the story.
I don't know if he has
That's
yet.
the only way that you can really keep that working right.
He might have. I don't know.
I'm going to bet that he didn't, but that would be cool if he did. It'd be very
Or
cool if he did.
maybe he looked over it and said, okay, yeah,
He
this actually works.
strikes me as enough of, I don't want to say control freak, but as enough of a hands-on guy that maybe in between his spare time of show running and writing,
if you told me
and
that
doing
about
Sherlock,
RTD, I'd have said absolutely. But Moffat does never come across as the control guy. In fact, I think that's very evident of the series 5 and 6 is the fact that they don't feel like they've pushed a lot of. I mean, there's just like a few subtle things in there that are part of the continuing thread, but he feels like he's let the writers just kind of go and do their thing.
There does feel a bit more one-off.
Yeah.
well, then maybe it's just,
I don't.
maybe you're
get
right. Maybe
that
he
impression
signed
at
off
all.
on it and that was it.
Either way, I'm really excited about it. It sounds like it could be a really cool game.
The gameplay does sound really. I like the idea
It's a great
of,
concept,
of
yeah.
controlling.
I haven't played
time
any
the way
of the
that they
other
described it there.
Doctor Who video games, but they sound more like straight-out adventure games where you're on planet, you don't travel through time.
Yeah, most of them are, with the exception of the one where you actually fly the TARDIS. They're puzzle-based games, is what they are. They're
Point and
very
clicks.
yeah. I mean, its movement is pretty stoic, and you walk through and you have to go, in certain paths, and then you go play mini games that are puzzlers and whatnot. So
You know the best one ever? Doctor Who Pinball.
that was cool.
Oh, it was so cool. I'd kill for one of those, by the way.
Yeah,
just throwing
I
it
bet
out there.
they're uber expensive.
All right, now I'm going to throw my 2 cents in here. I'm jazzed about this game. I don't want you to think that I've been poo-pooing it all week. And
Just because it's
bitter.
PS3.
well, I am.
You're just
actually.
bitter that they got exclusivity.
Here's my
for
problem.
now, it'll be.
For now, I'm
And
sure it'll go to the
here's my
arcade.
problem with it, and I'm going to throw this out there as a challenge to anybody who's listening. That's important. That would be in a position to go, oh, let's give so and so an exclusivity on something. Exclusives are bad, and my reason for saying that is Doctor Who is riding this crest of popularity. It is the new wave of thing. It's never been this popular since the heyday of Tom Baker. It may even be more popular now than it was then. Fantastic. Why would you then limit your audience for the video game? That doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't matter to me that it's an exclusive on PS3, which, yes, as I'm not I mean, you have a PS3 and you love it. I don't have a PS3. And from everything I've seen about them, I could really care less. That's not necessarily the reason why I have
But
a
you'd have
problem
felt
with
the
it.
same way
I'd have
had
felt
this
the same
been on
way
just
had it-
the Wii.
I'd have had the same problem if it
or
was
just the
Wii,
Xbox.
or just the Xbox, or any of the
I
console
agree
platforms.
with you there.
I just think it's wrong. And I'm sorry,
I have
Sony
a
releasing
feeling-
yet another new handheld device is not news at
Oh,
all.
that's ridiculous.
That's just,
Yeah.
you guys have whipped that horse, and it is dead, and you are done. Just give up on it.
None of them are as cool as anything that Nintendo has done. So give up.
Well, I mean, they keep trying. Sony,
No.
that is Sony's thing. Sony has always been about the next mini disc. Back when it was the mini disc, and then it was the something else, and then it was the PSP, and then, I mean, they just keep trying and failing miserably. Give up. Nobody cares about a mini disc anymore. It's a science fiction idea, and it works in science fiction. Hey, look, we made them
from
smaller.
what I understand-
Other than that, nobody cares.
From what I understand about this new one, there's no disc. It's all digital.
Yeah, it's a download.
It's all download
It is
based.
digital
It's-
download based. Yeah,
I
did see
guarantee you there's a spot there somewhere. it probably is backwards compatible where it'll play
Oh, come on.
all
PS3?
of the previous...
PlayStation?
Yeah,
Backward compatible?
you're right.
That's
What was
my.
I-
That's
you're
my,
right. What was I thinking?
That's my one complaint about my PS3 is that it's not backward compatible.
It was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Well, the initial launch ones were.
Well, guess what? The 360 is not anymore. Has no support for any
Yeah, it hasn't
games
for-
beyond so many.
Well, now and now the Xbox, they've just kind of wised up and gone, well, people really like playing their original Xbox games. Let's remake them. Halo Anniversary. All right,
There
you
you
got
go.
me there.
I'm sorry. They stole that from PlayStation. They,
Probably.
They remastered God of War and re-released them as a collection.
Oh yeah,
that
no,
was the first
PlayStation.
one.
Well, that's why PlayStation forced its own hand.
Well,
in
yeah.
the sense that it wasn't backwards compatible, and that was
I
that's the problem
contend
with
that
that
it's
is
not
they
a hardware
realized they
issue.
could make money on those people that were going to play God of War again
Yeah.
on the new console. So they were just marketing.
I contend that it's not a hardware issue; it's a software issue. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Either way,
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
Format wars again. But no,
either way,
I am
a Doctor
excited
Who
about a
game
Doctor Who
being
game.
released on a console in America is exciting.
Now, I'm going to go back on a limb here. You remember, way back at the beginning of the podcast, I had a dream. Oh. Do you remember me telling you about my dream that I was playing a Doctor Who video game
yeah.
on a console? I said I thought it was a 360, but I don't know what it was. But I was playing, and it was on a console, and it had really stupid graphics and was all kinds of. But
I
just,
don't think this is going to be stupid graphics.
well, but remember how excited we got?
yeah.
Called it.
Well, did you notice in my post that I said we've often spoke of a Lego Doctor Who game? Well, it may not be Lego, but we're still getting
That's
games.
the next one I'm hoping for. A minifig Doctor
You,
Who
you
game.
can hope for that. Yeah, it's not. It'll be whatever this group is that does the figures. Now.
Okay, as long as it's got the same gameplay and engine that the Lego games use.
Don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, you can. I'm sorry. You can slap whatever name on that brick you want, as
It's
long as
Lego.
it's a Lego Doctor Who game. I don't care. So, no, that's cool news.
It's
So
very
you
exciting
You
news.
called that.
I did. Called it. Called it right here.
I'm very looking forward to the new game.
I'm
I
a
will-
psychic transmitter. One of these days, you're going to realize this. I think of things and other people do them.
Well, I'm going to believe that because this next bit of news was your third thing you called, and this is the one that you called. And if you all will remember,
Way back.
go way back. And what was it I said in reaction to that is I would absolutely love if new episodes were ever found, but I seriously don't think that will ever happen again. And I said that, and I'm eating my words today because
I'm very glad
the
you're
big
eating your words
news,
today.
as Sean's going to tell you, this was all over the internets, all over Hood'em today. This was such an exciting moment in Who fandom today.
This was, well, the last one was 7 years ago? 8, 9?
Yeah, and
It's
that
been a
was-
while.
Was that Tomb or was
That
that
was
in-
Tomb.
Yeah.
Woo. Missing episodes recovered. No kidding.
Yes.
We did it as a joke. This is for real. If you haven't heard, they found 2 classic episodes of Doctor Who, which were thought to be, long
Gone.
done and gone. They found episode 3 of William Hartnell's Galaxy 4 story, which is the first and so far only recovered segment of Galaxy 4.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't exist, period.
Right.
And now we have an episode from it.
All are gone.
Not anymore. And then episode 2 of Patrick Troughton's Underwater Menace.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yay! Early Christmas present. Hooray for Doctor Who.
I know,
This is
it's-
just...
It was. I think I got a. I don't remember where I first saw it. Whether I think it was a tweet came from somebody because I get those on my phone and as I don't know. Well, I haven't talked about it, but my computers have been down this week, all of them almost, and so I've had limited internet connection. So I was really surprised. I was grateful for whoever tweeted this, and it came across my phone because I immediately went to the computer and fired it up and got onto the internet and started doing some research on it and finding out that I guess what they did is these actually premiered in the UK. They actually showed these episodes at a
the British Film Institute's annual Missing Believed Wiped event.
Which it's sad that they every year now have an event
that they
where
show
they
new
recognize
things.
that they screwed up 40, 50 years ago.
I don't think that's sad at all. I
And
think that's fairly awesome. I would very much like for NBC to host an annual stuff we shouldn't have canceled.
Fox, you mean?
And Star Trek could be on
they
it.
haven't wiped anything
Yeah.
on NBC. They still have them because they, for some reason, saw the foresight of reruns. But yeah, so no, this is incredible news. I have been
it's
on
so
a total
awesome.
high all day. In fact, I've been sitting here chomping at the bit to get to this news item because this is the most terrific news in Doctor Who for a long time. This ends the year on a high, on a year that we had a lot of lows.
Yeah.
Losing actors and actresses and just a lot of things that Doctor Who and we've had some ups and downs, but this was ending the year on this was just is incredible and there couldn't be any better news in Doctor Who right now unless they find more episodes or something. So
We found the rest of it.
yeah,
or if Matt Smith says he's never leaving the role.
I don't know, that wouldn't be good news, but got to leave sometime. They all got to leave. I'm not ready for him to leave.
Yeah,
but
no.
they all got to leave. Sometime.
That would be like waking up and realizing that it was Christmas Day again, and that it was never going to end, that it was always going to be Christmas. You'd get that initial, yay, elation, and then after a while it would start to wear thin. Even I, as much as I love Matt Smith, would be like, dude,
Yeah.
you got to go.
As long as the storytelling stays good.
How tired did we get of Tom Baker? Just watching a limited piece of it, and in the day, I would never have thought that. I never would have thought that. I mean, because this was the guy. I didn't know there were other doctors. This is it. And then he left. I was like, what? But
That's the problem, though, is now we know there are other doctors.
yeah,
Yeah.
And so when we watch Tom Baker for a long amount of time, we think of all these other good stories and these other doctors that, we could be
That we're
enjoying
missing
as
out
well.
on.
Yeah, and so it does feel like we're bogged down in Tom Baker.
But see, also with Matt Smith right now, because it's new and airing, it's new, and it's you can still go back and watch those other stories, and we can still pepper in other stuff going on. So even if you stuck around for 3 more years, I don't think I'd get tired of them.
Okay.
But it's still very exciting that they found new stuff.
To bring us back
To bring
off
us
of
back.
that tangent.
It's awesome. It's almost a shame that they released the what's it called?
Oh,
Lost in Time.
Yeah.
That they couldn't add these to it.
Well,
Maybe they'll do a Lost in Time 2.0.
Yeah, I mean they certainly could, and Blu-ray is still out there, and everybody says, well, what's the point of Blu-ray because these weren't ever done in high definition. But the point of Blu-ray
They
is
can
you can
upconvert
put
it.
more on. Well, not even the upconverting. You can put more on a Blu-ray.
Yeah.
You can compile things, better on a Blu-ray. You can have more extras on a Blu-ray. So Blu-ray is still viable for the Doctor Who series. Now, I know everybody that's collecting Doctor Who and has a massive DVD collection of Doctor Who, as Sean does, cringes when you start talking about re-releasing things on Blu-ray, because as completists, we feel like we have to then start over again
Yeah.
and spend more money. But that's how the BBC will hook us and keep us buying. But I totally think that. I think what this does, though, is this also not only does this. I think animation is viable. I think we said this we said this months ago. After we watched The Invasion, we said, why have they not done this again? Why have they not animated missing episodes? It was done so well in Invasion, and we were so and we watched Invasion almost 4 years after Invasion, or 3 years after Invasion had been released on disc, animated.
Yeah.
And we couldn't believe that they'd gone this long without doing another one. And we were like, oh, why haven't they done this? Why haven't they done this? And suddenly they decided to do Reign of Terror. So that just totally opened the possibility that, okay, maybe this is a plan. This is how we replace Doctor Who. The problem that you have is once you get past the ones that are only missing 1 or 2 episodes, then you have you go into a creative license because you're no longer trying to make it as authentic to the original
But there are
piece.
telestats in most of them.
But not for everything,
everything.
and that's the problem. And so you may have like one telesnapper pictures of the set, but you're still not going to get some of the mood or the implications of it, except for what you're drawing from audio. What this does, even with 1 episode of each of these, is now we have an episode to build the rest of an animation around. We know the mood, we know the feel, we know what they look like, we know the costumes. We can easily animate grander. Now, I think this is down the line a long ways, because I think what they're going to do first, and they're not in any hurry to animate all of these. What they're going to do first is they're going to do the ones that are they're going to do the ones that are obviously missing 1 episode, 2 episodes. Like Invasion, Reign of Terror, I believe, is only missing 1 episode. If I remember that right. Yeah, well, now.
I'll find it. I meant to look this up earlier, so I'm on it.
I think they're just animating the 1 episode of it. So, 10th Planet's another one that they're only missing 1 episode of. So, and they can even cut back to the live action for the regeneration scene, because they have surviving video of that. So, what that does is that even if they don't find the other piece of this helps in the restoring Doctor Who in some way. Yeah, and even if you don't go with the Beginnings box set, adding them to those collections as well.
Oh, you mean the Lost in Time?
Or that's what I meant, not Beginnings. Lost in Time. Yes, sorry.
Was this not the one that? I thought this was. I totally thought this listed it, and it doesn't appear. No, it does.
On what?
So why doesn't it
Are you
have
on
Reign of Terror?
Wikipedia?
I'm on Wikipedia. Oh, here it is. Reign of Terror, episodes 4 and 5 missing.
Oh,
I
so
looked at
4
it
and
and didn't
5
see
are
it.
gone. Okay.
So they're animating both of
It
those.
was a 5-part.
It was a 5-parter.
Yeah.
And then Galaxy 4, all 4 of those were missing. No. Galaxy 4, 1, 2, and 4 are missing.
Well, they just updated the website.
Did they update the Wikipedia?
It is Wikipedia. As soon as the news broke,
somebody
somebody went
did
there
it.
and updated that.
Okay. Well,
And it could have been any number of people that did.
all right. Well, okay. Regardless.
Good on you, Wikipedia folks,
Good
being on
for
top
you.
on.
I mean, I fixed that.
Underwater Menace now says episodes 1 and 4 missing. So there are 2 episodes of Underwater Menace now.
Oh, that could easily be animated.
That could easily be animated.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's what I meant to look up earlier, and I forgot about it.
Right,
So,
right.
I'm glad you were here to explain that
Now we're
for me,
back.
though, because if I had looked it up earlier, I'd have been really confused. It would not have even dawned on me. Well, they updated
Wait
the
a minute.
website,
This
dummy.
wasn't missing.
Wikipedia knew in advance. They're time travelers.
So anyway, exciting stuff.
Very exciting stuff. Well, let's move on to feedback.
Yeah,
We got a
absolutely.
lot to talk about this week. We got quite a bit of feedback. Our first bit comes from Derek. Twitter handle DZ Donier.
Hello, Derek.
Comment question. Hey there, Keith, Sean, and Glenn. I hope all is well. I'm here to give you an update on my last comment question about buying Doctor Who Series 6 Part 2 or double dipping and buying the complete 6 series box set. And I decided to pick up Series 6 Part 2. I know that the box set had a lot of DVD extras and A Christmas Carol, which I have, but I can't see myself rebuying a series of shows that I already have just to get the last part of the season. So with the money I saved on not buying the box set, I can now spend it on Doctor Who action toys. Keep up the great work, and as always, Traveling the Vortex, the only Doctor Who podcast that keeps you up to date on everything Who. P.S. I have an iPod, and I have seen the Star Wars films. My favorite of the trilogy is Empire. Have a good one.
Sound reasoning on why you went ahead and purchased a second box set. And
Sound
split it up.
reasoning, but having seen Night and the Doctors, I have to push the complete series because those aren't on the individual box set.
That was going to be my question, because I you know me, I'm all for, hey, I have toy money now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yay.
Absolutely awesome to get
But-
toy money.
You missed out on Night and the Doctor.
Yeah.
Man, tough.
That is a tough call.
Tough
Except
call.
for I'm sure they're posted online somewhere. You can just go watch them there anytime that he wants for free. So
They could.
I still say kudos. Good on you.
And thank you for the plug. Because we are apparently the only place to get all this information.
Yeah, I hope you're. I mean, if you are only listening to us to get your news, we appreciate it. But we do want you to know that we.
There's probably some news we're missing.
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of news we miss. So And our news is usually not. We're not breaking it because a lot of times it's been out for a few days, with the exception of this one. This actually broke the day
Happened
we
today.
reported on it. But yeah, it's. I'm glad that you're getting your news from us. But like we've always made the disclaimer, it's more of our reaction to news that's already been out there. So, but thanks for listening. We appreciate it.
Our next bit comes from Phil.
Phil, is this Dr. Phil?
No.
This is Phil Tippett. This is Sean's friend Phil.
Hi, Phil.
The Odd Duck Phil.
Odd duck. Hey, who Peekins? Greetings from pretty much the present. Still need to listen to episode 49, but otherwise I'm all caught up. I was busy driving, so I can't remember everything that popped into my head in no particular order. I think I prefer Odd Duck to my friend Phil. No offense, Sean. I do treasure our friendship, but I don't want to sound like I'm the main character in a Lifetime movie.
So it's Odd Duck Phil now.
Most likely suffering from a terminal disease or something. Number 2, you guys keep tripping over the pronunciation of anthropomorphic. So why not go with something like Ninja Turtle syndrome? Number 3, Donna is my favorite companion for all the reasons that have been brought up this far, and definitely more on when you wrap up Series 4. But I was amazed that no one commented on one of her best moments in Pompeii. When the Doctor is hesitating to push the lever that will kill 20,000 people, tears in her eyes, Donna puts her hands on his so they press together. She doesn't say a word, but she will not let him shoulder that burden alone. That is one of the most powerful Doctor Who scenes I have ever seen. I would agree.
Yeah,
I
that
would
was
agree
very
too.
powerful.
I kicked myself a little bit when I read Phil's email
forgot
because I was
about
like, "Oh, how could I have forgotten that?" But I did,
Yeah.
and he's right.
Yet another reason why Fires of Pompeii is one of the best historical pieces Doctor Who's done.
It really is. Number 4, I think Lost Moon of Poosh may be the most cathartic thing to hear or say. Seriously, try saying it without smiling. You can't, can you? Lost Moon of Poosh.
Glenn failed twice now.
Lost Moon of Poosh. Nope. Can't
He's
do it.
still smiling.
Number 5, Song of Freedom from the Planet of the Ood. Simply amazing. I shouldn't be floored by great music springing from a television show, but every time I hear it, I realize it hasn't lost any of its impact. It is glorious, for lack of a better word. Number 6, speaking of the Ood, I always assumed they had a touch of Lovecraft in their appearance.
That's very true.
Very Cthulhu.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah,
More Cthulhu than Squid, I would say.
yeah. Which is fine. It's still
There's no suction cups.
it's a
on
little
there.
more, a little less than
And no wings.
a little more imaginative than
And they're not-
Squid, I suppose.
20 stories tall.
Yeah.
Okay, it's hints.
Actually, they're nothing like Cthulhu, Phil.
Aside from the tentacles.
Phil goes on to say, "That's
Isn't there
all
a
I've
Star
got."
Wars alien that has tentacles like that?
Squid face. What's his actual name? Searching
The planet
through
with
my index.
the planet with the calamari. There's the calamari and
He's
the,
an Aqualish. No, he's not an Aqualish.
No,
he's
there's
a
Mon Calamari, and then isn't Kit Fisto from that same planet?
No, he's
No,
not
he's
from
got
that
tentacles on
planet.
his head, not on his face.
I know, but I'm saying that's
Quarrens.
Yeah, he's a
Quarren.
Quarren. He's a Quarren, but Squid face in the series, I believe, actually has a name too, but I can't remember what that is.
Well, I was
but he
thinking
is
of
Quarren.
Quarren.
That is
yeah.
that is the species. Anyway, segment aside.
High five
Or
for miniseries.
segue
action there.
aside here. I think that's all I got. I'm sure there's much more, but I don't remember it until late. Oh, wait. I'm sure there's more, but I won't remember it until later. Congrats on episode 50. Though, shouldn't 52 be more significant since it's your anniversary? 52 is our anniversary? But shouldn't 52 be more significant since it's your anniversary?
52
would
weeks
be
in a year.
Oh, 52 weeks in a year is the anniversary of the show. Oh, yeah. So in 2 more shows, we're going to do a 1-year anniversary special.
Yay!
Well, this is the 50th episode
This
of
is
the
the 50th
podcast.
episode of the
This is
podcast.
not our 50th anniversary, as Sean has slipped up a few times and said. Not particularly in this one, but later. So anyway.
If you had an anniversary of a 1-week special,
No, there's no anniversary.
there would be.
No. It's a year from then is the anniversary. Anniversary denotes 1 year.
No, it doesn't.
or a year.
He's had this argument
Yearly.
with people at work. Don't worry.
Anna is,
He had this argument about the millennium and what year that actually happened in, too.
which was 2001, not 2000. Anyway, annual, the prefix of that is Anna. That is year. That's 1 year anniversary. 1 year. Or year by year by year. So you can have a 50th anniversary. That would be 50 years. That would be your 50th year celebration. Marking the 50th year. 50th podcast is not an anniversary.
Is this our 50th episode?
This is our 50th,
This is
50th
our 50th
episode.
episode.
Have we been doing it this long?
We have.
Wow. We probably should have planned something special.
We probably should have.
Well, we didn't because we're doing something special for 52. Because it's our 1 year anniversary.
I'm not going to let you win this. I refuse to let you win this.
Actually, wouldn't 53 be our anniversary?
Technically,
You have to have 52 weeks.
because,
You have to have gone a
because
year.
it would be 2001. for
Right,
the
exactly. So that's the anniversary, not 52.
Well, first and foremost, thank you,
Thank
Odd
you
Duck
very much.
Phil,
Doug Phil.
who I can't call my friend Phil because apparently my friend Phil is dying of something.
Some sort of terminal
Or
illness
is of special needs.
in a Lifetime movie.
That's what always made me think of. You know, like,
My friend Phil.
Special needs, Phil?
no, special, my friend, almost in a Lifetime movie, it's either dying of some illness
I
or
follow you.
is special needs.
I have to admit, I haven't watched enough Lifetime movies
I haven't
to be able
either,
to
but
make
that's
that
what I
distinction.
imagine.
But you are up at night. I don't know what you do.
Not watching Lifetime.
First and foremost, if Doctor Who was on Lifetime, I'd watch it. Just
Well-
you watch me.
Yeah.
First and foremost, thank you, Phil, for the email. And secondly, we did plan something special for 50. Woo!
What was it?
Nothing.
We have a couple special items that we're going to save out until all of our congratulations are in order.
And there was a lot. And thank you guys so much for sending that in.
Yes.
I did not mean, even though I did, I totally did. When I posted it on the website,
You were
hey,
pleading.
send us congratulations for making it 50 and all that. I totally was not pimping for feedback, but
Yes,
I
you
did.
were.
I totally was.
Hey, wish us a happy 50th podcast. Hey,
Some podcasts don't
it's like
make it
going
to
online
50.
and saying, hey, it's my birthday. I'll take well wishes now.
You betcha. That's exactly it. And you and I discussed off mic. Did you think we'd make it to 50?
No, not at all. No. Well,
I had no doubt.
yes, I had.
Because at the rate we were going, we were going to finish New Who.
Okay, quite. Here's
I knew at least we were going to make it past the end of David Tennant.
Here's my thing. I have been eager, and I've striven to make
Past tense of
this
strive.
podcast last. However, if you go out there and you look at the plethora of Doctor Who podcasts, and you look at the
And there are
numbers,
many.
there are a lot out there. But if you look at the numbers, there's really only a handful, maybe 24. I may be underselling that a little bit, that have made it past 50 episodes, let alone made it to 50 episodes.
Yeah.
And so to be able to, I don't think we're anywhere near the echelon of some of the big names,
Oh,
the
no,
big
no, no, no.
podcasts.
Oh, no.
How many does
But-
Podshock have?
Oh,
600? And...
I don't think it's that many. I think they're in their 200 or 300s.
Oh, they've been on for a while.
They have. Now that's like that's every week of a year, 52. They've been around for 7 years, I think. So I mean, it's like in the 300 or 400s,
Yeah.
I think.
And Radio Rassilon is up there.
Radio Lassalon's up there. Radio Friscaro, I think, is
Radio
probably
Friscaro,
that would be
that was
that
it.
would probably be. I mean, they consider Podshock the Podfather of Doctor Who podcasts. I mean,
Podfather.
they consider Louis Trapani, the host of that show, as the Podfather. And then the three that rule, Radio Friscaro. I mean, that's another big one that's up there. I don't think we're anywhere near the echelon of those, but it's really encouraging for me that we've made it this far, and I can foresee us
Podshock
being
just released episode 261.
261. Yeah, I thought it was up there in the late 200s, upper 200s. So, I mean, it's just to know that we've made it 50, where so many have, I don't want to say failed, but not been able to go on.
Fallen off,
Whether
or-
they've fallen off, they've not had the interest or the time. I'm sure some of them have just gotten busy and they don't have the time to be able to commit. And we've made it an effort, to sort of prioritize our lives around this and be able to do this from week to week to week to week. And I never expected, when I came forward with this idea, I never expected any of you guys to put life on hold to do this. And so it's been fantastic that we've been able to make this work for 50, and here's to 50 more. So
absolutely,
here.
Hey. You're making
Clink,
a toast
clink,
here. Yeah, cans don't necessarily
aluminum
clink.
cans. Holly Mack also sent us in some happy 50th feedback. She says,
Hi, Holly.
Hey guys, congratulations on hitting the big 50 mark with the podcast. Here's hoping to 50 more and beyond. Looking forward to your Adversary Archive on Davros. Holly from Wisconsin.
That was a short one, Holly.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Holly.
it was very short, Holly. Thank you very much. And Chrissy did something special
She
for
did,
us.
and we're just going to talk about that because we can't
We
play it.
can't
because
play it.
It would make
Well,
sense.
we could,
audio,
but
be sure to go to the website and check
She
the
made us
video out.
Another feedback 2.0. Is that what she called it the first time? So is this 2.1?
I suppose it would be because she hasn't advanced the medium, but she's
She made changes.
She made a video.
She made
improved
a video.
upon the medium.
Yeah.
Not that her last one was bad, but
No,
this
but-
one was certainly more creative, I think, and very enjoyable.
But Sean didn't get to see her bedroom.
That's right. Well, I don't know. Maybe that is a piece of her bedroom we're seeing there. In the
There were
video.
definite drawbacks to this one, Chris.
But definitely go to our website. If you're getting our podcast from an aggregator, head to our website, travelingthevortex.com, and watch this video. Chrissy, it's hilarious. It's very
is.
funny,
It's
and
fantastic.
thank you for
She
the
did-
well wishes.
She did a wonderful job, and it's very creative, and it encompasses a lot of what we've even talked about in the last few weeks. That's what what I thought was pretty incredible.
That's a lot of in-jokes.
It is. There are a lot of
in-jokes
in there. For those of you that listen to us regularly, and again, we thank you for that. You know that we like to whip dead horses. Because we think it's funny, so we're going to continue to go back to the well.
Notice I didn't do that with Holly's email.
Yeah, we didn't say Holly
he
from
didn't say
Wisconsin
that.
or
No.
not.
Not
He
Glenn.
did
Glenn's
say-
Holly. I
he
said
did
Holly
say
from
Holly from
Wisconsin,
Wisconsin,
but
but
I
not
didn't say,
Glenn's Holly.
well, she always puts Holly from Wisconsin, so I read that. I didn't say, not Glenn's Holly. That's
right.
the horse.
But now that by bringing that up,
I just
we
whipped
got
it.
the horse again.
Sean reminded me.
I am good at whipping horses. I used to be a jockey in a former life. I was. I'm too tall.
It's hard to imagine you on a horse.
I rode that carousel for weeks.
On end?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you get very dizzy?
It stops in between,
Oh.
and then it starts again.
Okay.
He only got dizzy for 2 minutes of it at a time.
The sad thing was I never won a race. There was always that one horse ahead of me. I couldn't pass him. I tried. Couldn't do it. All right. Next piece of feedback comes from Freaky Alex. Or are we not doing that anymore? I forgot.
Did he
I
pipe
think he's
Freaky
still
Alex?
Freaky Alex.
No, it's still out. He just said Alex.
Then it's just
He
Alex.
says, "Hi guys, it's Alex here, just in time for the big 5-0." So it's not Freaky.
I don't know. You're the one that calls him Freaky Alex.
Well, because it's in his email.
Yeah.
It's his email address, which I still contest he made before us.
I hope we didn't name him that.
I'm going back and finding that episode where Sean called him a freak. And from then on, he kept calling himself Freaky Alex. I guarantee it.
He did. He. I don't know about the email though.
I think I might have the email. I'll have to go back.
You
and
do
look.
archive.
I archive all the emails. So, but that was before.
We know you don't delete any of the feedback, Keith.
I'll have to go to the Traveling the Vortex email because that was before the feedback email. So I'll go look and see.
Hey guys, it's Alex here, just in time for the big 5-0. First and most importantly, congratulations on reaching 50 episodes. It's been one hell of a ride, and we might have put a few dents in the 80s along the way, but it was worth it. It's hard to believe the podcast has been going for almost a year now. Keep up the great work. You guys are my favorite. You spelled favorite with a U, Alex. Podcasters. It's a joke because he's British. I had to explain it to Glenn because he looked at me all
Beating the
concerned.
dead horse again.
Yeah, I know.
Like when he spelled color. C-O-L-O-U-R.
They like adding U's, don't they?
What's with the U?
I'm assuming it's probably real.
Well, you notice how we both look at you like we expect you to know the answer to this.
We borrowed the language from them, so I'm assuming that we're the ones that have changed things over the course of the years.
No.
Yes.
Never would have thought of that. Let's say that again. You guys are my favorite podcasters. I would look wistfully into the distance and wonder where we'll be in another 50 episodes, but I'm pretty sure you guys already know exactly what will be happening at episode 100 if Sean's schedule
Sean knows what it is.
is as exhaustive as he makes out. Not quite that exhaustive.
Oh, it's close.
Almost.
Trust
No,
me.
Almost.
No, it's close.
It goes up to the 90s.
No, it does not. 76. Good.
Who's counting?
So it's at least halfway to the next one.
Actually, that's not even accurate because I haven't done plans for the what's 75, the Diamond Jubilee or something. What is that considered a
75 is platinum.
platinum?
50 is golden.
Well, I haven't done plans for the platinum anniversary yet.
Silver is 25.
It's 25. Well, we're past that.
That's
Diamond
what's
must
50?
be 100 then.
That's why it was Silver Nemesis 2 Electric Boogaloo.
That's right.
Yeah, not quite as far out. I made you a little imagery thing to celebrate, which is attached to this email. The super cool feedback 3.0 I've been promising for ages
Oh, that's right.
has been delayed again due to an unforeseen time eddy, which I'm currently stuck in. As long as you were supplied with a cool little diamond-shaped box that you could rest comfortably while stuck in the time eddy, it would be all right.
There you go.
Now, most of what I'd like to talk about is from last week's episode, because I missed the chance to send in feedback for that one. Your look back on the Silence in the Library two-parter was very interesting for me, as that story is my, there you go, spelled it with a U again, favorite Who episode of all time. I can't read it without, I really, my brain just stops and goes,
What word is that?
oh yeah, okay. I'm teasing, Alex. Don't change your emails.
And we spell traveling with a one.
With
L.
one only one L. Did you see that on here?
No.
Well, wait.
Okay, we'll get there.
We'll get to it.
No spoilers.
Yeah, it's all time. Admittedly, I haven't watched it since Series 6 ended, so I haven't yet looked back and caught all of the winks.
I just read it. Sorry. Go ahead.
Haven't caught all the winks and nudges to future stories that Moffat put in there. But what I think is great about the story is that it still works as a standalone adventure. If they hadn't ever brought back River, it would still work in its own right as a brilliant story. And I think it's important that an episode can run on its own steam. As much as I loved the overreaching plot lines in Series 6, ultimately I prefer individual episodes that can tell contained stories. Don't worry, I won't start gushing about the story of this particular episode because I could go on that for hours.
I'm going to interrupt real quick. I would agree with him on that, as long as they didn't have the hints of River's past in there.
No, I
If
disagree.
she was just another astronaut.
No, I agree. I think
I would
totally could have been the one-off and still had the references to it, and just you left it up to the viewer's imagination as to how they.
I would have felt
How
a
they
little
met, how
cheated that
they-
they never brought her back.
I'd have felt cheated.
I think
too,
I'd have
but
felt
it's still-
slightly cheated, but it still works as a
It
one-off.
still works.
It still
as a
works,
one-off. Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd have felt not cheated but unfulfilled.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
As for the Great Caricature War, I have to say that I totally agree with Glenn. Just kidding. Sean and Keith are right.
Victory.
I'm not making this up. It's written here in black and white, Glenn.
I wasn't praising because I figured that was coming. That's why I didn't go, yay! Oh.
While the characters are indeed exaggerated caricatures, and they do indeed match all of the stereotypes of an Agatha Christie novel, that doesn't necessarily mean they don't suit the episode. I think, had the characters been portrayed any other way, the whole alien thinks it's living inside a murder mystery novel plot thread would have been unclear. The characters had to be tropes of the mystery genre for the story to work, and I don't think they could have handled the characters any better.
That's a good defense.
It is a good defense.
I wish I would have thought of that.
You look to me as though I'm going to disagree.
I was going to give you the option to retort.
I absolutely agree. And I said within the framework of this story, everything works. My problem is that's what I didn't like about it was the fact that it was the tropes that had to be there in order to make it work. So it's why it's not a good episode to me. That's it. It's why it's not a top episode for me. It's still a good episode.
On a more recent note, I'm hugely fond of Midnight. What I find very interesting is how this episode came about. Because Catherine Tate was going to be busy filming Turn Left, Russell T Davies had to write a companion light story at short notice. This comes across fantastically in the episode because there's no one normal backing the Doctor up. He suddenly seems very alien and untrustworthy in the eyes of the other passengers. If Donna had been there to back the Doctor up, would they have even considered trying to throw him out?
That's a good point. I don't think they would have.
I think it's clever how Davies managed to incorporate the lack of companion into the narrative of the episode. So that brings me, and maybe you know this because you've read Writer's Tale, that brings up an interesting question for me then. Because they have these run where they're placed in the season, almost back, well, they are back to back, that we have a Dr. Light episode, because he's not even in it in Turn Left. Well,
he's
no,
in it,
the
but he's not.
flashback is not.
Well, he's in the beginning. And
His
the end.
hand is in there.
Or he's in the end.
Oh, yeah, they're right.
Yeah.
And then
He's in it
He's
as
at the
almost
beginning,
as
too.
much. He's in it as almost as much as he is
Donna.
in Blink, and I mean,
Well,
as
he's
the
in it
Doctor
as,
would be
as
in
much
those
as
live.
Donna
I'd
is
forgotten
in
about the framework episodes,
Right.
but within the confines of the actual
story.
Right.
retelling of the
Then we
past,
just see
he's
his
not
hand.
in it. It's
That's
just
right.
his hand. And then Donna's only in the beginning and end framework of Midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Were they filmed simultaneously?
I
mean, was it just
can't
that-
recall for sure, but that would make sense. That would be why they would do that.
Yeah.
As you know, the Dr. Light episodes were created so that they could fit 13 episodes into a season as opposed to 12 because they added the Christmas specials. And so what they would do is they would be able to run up and only have to shoot with 11 weeks. They could do 12 episodes in 11 weeks and then do a Christmas episode as well, and that would spread their budget out. And so what they could do is they could shoot simultaneously at one time. They could shoot 2 episodes so that they had one production unit doing the Dr. Light, which is usually, no offense to anybody that works on Doctor Who, but it's usually the B team. And then the A team is working on the, whatever episode the Doctor and the companion happen to be in that week. So it makes sense that they would have done the same thing here, that at week, whatever filming schedule was that particular week, they were doing those back-to-back. Now, the difficulty I have with saying is those are both such good episodes that what team do you put on which
Yeah.
one? And you must have competent enough backup team or second
absolutely.
unit team.
Well, I think Blink
that-
is an awesome example
Exactly.
of second unit
So,
team. If it
enabled
is
to
them.
and what it is it's to be able to get the actors to be here and not have to be here at the same time.
Right.
So it's when I say A team, B team, it's not really first string, second string. It's more of we've got 2 units and we've got to put the actors predominantly in one and less in the other because we can't have them 2 places at once.
We'll be
So,
Team 1, you be Team A.
There you go, team 1 and team A.
I just
that
never
being
thought about
said,
the logistics
I don't
of
know
that.
the answer to your question, but that makes sense
Yeah.
that they would do that
Because
because
there's really no reason to require a Dr. Light episode other than for that. If you're then going to turn around and do a companion Light episode to counterbalance it, unless you shot simultaneously. I just never thought.
Well,
of the
and
logistics of it.
exactly.
Yeah.
You're going to have to shoot.
From
You're going to
Mark-
have to shoot episodes sometime in that 11 weeks. You're going to have to shoot. I say 11 weeks, but
story.
the 11 weeks worth of stories. You're going to have to shoot a story without somebody, so that makes sense that those 2 would be. One was without
Right.
the Doctor, and one was out Donna, and then they came over and did their.
And
small
what
parts for each, so.
it sounds like to me from Alex's email is the fact that Russell had this idea of Turn Left, and was like, "Well, we have a companion Light episode. Might as well write a Doctor."
Well, I think that's what
or
happened,
A Doctor
yeah,
Light
is
episode.
that-
Might as
that-
well write a companion Light episode to balance.
Well, we
got to
give something. We got to give David Tennant something to do. So
Yeah.
here's your other option.
Yeah.
Which I like the idea that the story caused Midnight, the overarching story of Donna and Turn Left is what caused Midnight. That almost makes me like Midnight a little bit more.
That is something, and I hope that we will discover this next week. For me, everybody talks about the grand story arcs of Series 6 and everything. 4. I honestly don't believe, by the time 4 wraps, by the time Series 4 is over with, I don't believe there's truly any standalone episodes. And I will back that up next week.
Okay.
Maybe. And you guys won't. You guys will disagree with me. But that's a good point, though, about him not
that could
having
be
anybody there to.
that could be said about Series 1 too,
No,
because they tie everything back from Series 1 in.
not necessarily. There are episodes of Series 1 that don't have Bad Wolf in it.
But there were other things that were tied back in. If I remember correctly,
I don't think so.
I thought okay.
No, I don't think so. I think Sean's right. There's only certain ones that tie Bad Wolf, and the ones. I mean, what you're thinking of is between
Maybe Series 5
between
is what I'm
Dalek
thinking
and The Long Goodbye. No, between Dalek and what was the one right after it? Where Adam
The long game.
The Long Game, Long Goodbye. That was Elliot Ness,
Next one.
or not Elliot Ness, Philip Marlowe book that they turned into a movie with Elliot Gould.
That's right. Big Goodbye is the
The
next
Big Goodbye,
episode.
yes.
Yes.
But anyway, sorry, yes, The Long Game.
Segway.
Those two tied together because you had the recurring
Yeah.
companion. So those two tied.
Well, you had Adam. That was really the only continuing.
Well, that's what I mean.
We hadn't dropped them off yet.
And I guess
he'll tag
in
around
a
and get
sense,
into trouble,
Dalek
then we'll
then
kick him
ties
out.
into the Big Wolf theory, and in essence, that's the same space station that is Bad Wolf's.
Well, no, Dalek definitely ties into it because the name.
no,
of the
but what I'm
helicopter
saying
Bad
is,
Wolf
but what
One,
I'm saying is, what draws Long Game
Right.
in is the fact that it's
It's
Adam.
the same
it's
thing.
Adam. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I connected to the finale, the fact that it was the same
Station,
Yeah,
yeah.
station.
Blah, 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 blah.
I had made that argument before, I thought, and was proven right, but it's been too long. Go back and listen.
Yeah, there's only 50 or 49 other ones to go back and find.
It was in one of them.
Yeah.
It was the finale of Series 1 that I would have
Oh, well, then
brought that up.
we can pinpoint that because I have a schedule. It's around here somewhere, buried under Christmas stuff.
Sean's retroactive schedule.
Well, that's all I have to say for now. Have fun reviewing the 3 R's of Dalekdom this week: reading, writing, and exterminating.
Did you notice he said Dalek again?
I did
did
say
just say
Darlac.
Dalek. Well,
again. He did not type Darlac.
It is our
Let me cla-
50th.
Let me
It
clarify.
is our 50th episode, so we are trying to incorporate things from all
The past.
40, 9 prior episodes.
Let me clarify, Alex. He did not put an R in
Oh, that was
Dalek.
strictly Sean.
I
saying
put an R in
Darlac.
Darlac because
Dalek.
that's, I don't know. That's how I grew up saying it. Every now and then I slip. Reading, writing, and exterminating, and the R's are capitalized. That's clever. Here's to another 50 episodes of Merca's Marmite, Back to the Future Bingo, and #1 fan fighting. And we'll post his graphic up if we
imaging?
haven't already. Which, have you not seen it?
Nope.
No, that needs to go up with the episode.
That's cool.
It's very cool.
Bingo!
Mark, are you claiming, or Alex, are you claiming bingo then?
We need to see your card to verify.
How disappointing that no one has yet sent us a bingo card. I keep waiting for one to show up. If you'd like to mail us something, you can't because we don't have we don't have a
apparently
physical
we do.
address. Oh, yeah. I got another piece of junk mail from the darn business card.
same
people.
group?
Well, no, it was a
Oh,
different group.
From the textile directory?
No, that was
Oh.
different still too.
Apparently we get lots of junk mail. Our last bit comes from Mark.
Mark McMarmite. Comment question. No, he really starts this out with comment question.
I'm glad I start trends. One day you guys will appreciate me.
Well, the 50th episode is here.
Woo!
I remember first tuning in on you guys around episode 8 or 9, and I find it hard to believe that was over 40 weeks ago. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess.
It does.
Anyway, this feedback is to thank you guys for continuing this excellent podcast and for recommending so many good TV shows and films over the past 40 weeks. TV shows and films such as Quantum Leap, Third Watch, The Time Machine, etc. Oh, and most importantly, thank you for forcing me to watch Star Wars. I'm still on The Empire Strikes Back, by the way.
Slogging
As
through
Sean
the
said,
awesome.
slogging through the awesome, yes. Well, I guess that's all, folks. It's getting late over here across the pond, and I better get some sleep. Well, I'll admit, I'm going to listen to episode 49. I've been too busy to listen to it this week. All the best from Sir Mark McMarmite. Yes, I'm a sir now. Knighthoods are cool. Well, Sir Mark McMarmite, thank you so much for the weather.
Nicely done.
Yes.
And thank you.
Which
Sarah,
queen bestowed that one on you?
Sarah read that email and said, "Are you going to be a sir now? Sir Keith?" I was like, "Well, knighthoods are cool."
How How?
How could we get?
Yeah, I'm intrigued now. How does your average American citizen across the pond who does a Doctor Who podcast get on a list to be knighted?
I have no idea. I don't know what the qualifications for that are. Everybody looks at me again. I don't know. I don't know anything.
Let's turn to
about
Glenn,
that.
our resident Anglophile. Glenn, you have the story.
Let's see what I can make up that Phil Burkett could call us out. I just better stay away from it.
Thank you for everyone who sent us in well wishes for
Yeah,
the 50th
definitely.
anniversary. And Sean did plan a surprise
I did.
for this episode.
As you all know, or should by now, if you've been listening, we are gamers. Pretty hardcore ones, we like to think, anyway, here at Traveling the Vortex.
I don't know about hardcore. But
We game. I don't know how hardcore.
We game.
we're softcore. Softcore gamers.
We're not quite,
Not quite yet.
not quite into the upper echelons
Maybe
of that.
medium core,
Medium core?
kind of mushy in the center, but
Yeah, that kind of
crisp
applies.
on the outside, but mushy in the center.
Gamers, and here, and we enjoy. Well, I mean, some of us have a whole closet full of board games. If you want to go archaic routes, but
Yeah.
that'll be the next Traveling the Vortex Home Edition.
The board game.
You get a board and there'll be a Merc on it. You have to avoid things. It'll be like Chutes and Ladders with Mercas.
There'll be and some of the chutes and ladders will go off the board. Those are tangents. Got caught in a tangent.
Got caught in a tangent. Back 5 spaces. Oh, and there's people right now furiously working away on their Photoshop. I've got to make this. So I have created for you Xboxers out there. And for those of you who don't know, the Xbox game system has these, well, most of the games have these wonderful things called achievements. And PlayStation 3 has trophies.
Trophies.
And
The Wii has nothing.
The Wii has nothing. So boo Wii. But, boo Wii. I didn't mean anything. So I have created, and what you do is you do something cool in the game, and then you unlock an
Or,
achievement.
Yes.
or reach a story point. in
Reach a
the
story
game,
point,
and-
or
It's actually, some are very set, some are very random, and
could be something amazing that you did that warrants an achievement. It could be something mundane, like, hey, you completed the first level.
yes,
Here's
absolutely.
here's a little something for your trouble.
Now, we should say, along with those achievements, and this is something that PlayStation doesn't do with its trophies, is along with achievements, Xbox has what's called gamer score or gamer points. Each achievement is worth so much, depending on how maybe difficult it is to unlock an achievement. The score of it might be higher. The simplicity of some, the score will be lower. And basically, all a gamer score is, it means absolutely nothing except for bragging rights for somebody, such as myself, who has about 27,000 gamer score, as opposed to Sean, who has been playing about actually longer than me, and has what? Are you 21?
22 and change.
And change. And
And then
Keith,
the
who has
newbie.
just started on the Xbox. Now, he's been a PlayStation
I'm a level-
guy for years.
Yeah.
But he just started on Xbox. His gamer score is roughly
1,100.
1,100. Oh, yeah, you're at 1,100?
I think so.
Well, you broke the 1,000.
He cracked
mark.
Oh yeah, I broke
Cracked
1,000 with Rockman 3.
Oh,
not
okay,
too long
cool.
ago.
So anyway, it has nothing to do except for being able for me to brag that I have
Which
a larger gamer score.
PlayStation
than
does
these
have a
guys.
very similar system.
Oh, it does. Okay.
The each trophy you get is worth a different value: bronze, gold,
Oh, that's
silver,
right. I
platinum.
forgot those are.
And then depending on how many trophies you get of each kind, you go through a ranking. So it's like more like leveling up than it's my score.
I
So
didn't know that part of it.
I'm like a level 13 in my PlayStation trophies.
right. So they're essentially the same as the gamer
Very,
score.
very,
It's
very
just-
similar.
It's more broke
just
down
more
into a point system.
trophy
or a less
based.
point system.
Now, for the record, Xbox, I love the fact that you give me these gamer score points. I love the achievements. I love the whole everything about that. I play games that I would not care to play just because, ooh, there's an achievement. And I'll go after it because I kind of do that. It's like stickers. You're going to give me something for almost free? All I have to do is...
to say it. You're an achievement whore.
I'm an achievement whore. Like a sticker whore and a feedback whore. I'm just an all-around
No,
whore.
you've maxed out on your 3. We're breaching the PG-13 podcast here now. So.
Okay, well, I won't say it again. But if you're going to award points, let us use them for something. I mean, doesn't it make sense that, okay, I've got 22,000 points for unlocking all these achievements and playing all these games. Shouldn't you then get, I don't know, maybe 1,000 points equates to $1 in the marketplace, and you can turn around and cash in some of your points on the next game that you're going to play,
or wardrobe for your avatar, which we have avatars in
or
the
once you get
world
to
of Xbox.
once you get to 30,000, they give you an exclusive 30,000 gamer point wardrobe.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would totally be all over that.
I totally agree.
I don't know. It's just frustrating that you play for all this, and here's blink, and it's like, oh wow, I unlocked an achievement, and realistically, it means nothing. It means you've wasted yet another 2 hours on your couch when you should have been writing or doing something productive. But no, you were sitting here in front of Halo Reach trying to get that one. Not that that's a true story. So anyway, I made up a list of traveling the Vortex achievements. For purposes of our game, while most games offer up 1,000 points, we're going to do 500 because we're only at 50 episodes. But that means that if
there's an expansion,
there'll be an expansion.
look for Traveling the Vortex DLC coming soon. And
I'm going to explain what DLC stands for.
Downloaded content.
I'm sure there are some people out there that are just not gamers at all. Yeah, downloadable content.
Downloadable content, which you pay for and you play the game longer.
Or some are free.
Some are free. Not many.
The first Batman pack was free.
Not very
the
many
first one. Yeah. Well, but it was all...
they're all maps. Or they're all
bonus maps
challenges
for the challenge missions, which sucked. God, I hate challenge missions. Be sneaky.
Like the challenge missions either.
I don't want to be sneaky. I want to punch people in the face.
Mine was fight. I don't want to fight. I want to be sneaky.
That's why we're so awesome when we play together. Because you and I should totally co-op everything. Because we get to that point in the game and it's like, okay, you go first. All right, that was cool. Now it's my turn. Anyway, I won't read through the entire list because I got a little carried away.
But we will post
it's an awesome list.
I found an achievement generator, so there are accompanying pictures and logos with the whole bit. Just I don't know, you pick one that you like.
Well, let's go with.
I've lived with them for too long.
Let's go with. Well, we got to go with the first two for sure because these were technically
and tie into this.
Exactly. We'll tie into this. The first one is called Seek, Locate, and that would be to achieve that you would be listen to I can't talk. Listen to Dalek Archive 1, and you get 5 gamer score points for that. And then the next one would be Exterminate. And, of course, listen to the Dalek Archive number 2.
Which, if you put it all together, becomes...
10 gamer score. Oh, well...
Seek, Locate,
Exterminate.
Which is what they always said, didn't Well, actually, they didn't say that until Destiny, I think.
Yeah,
the first time
I think you're right.
But that's what I remember
locate,
from. Seek, Locate, Exterminate.
Some of my favorite ones were Poking the Bear with a Stick, Giggled When Glenn is Goated.
How much is that one worth?
That one's worth 5.
See how easy I made this game for everybody?
Yeah, but that's only 5 gamer score?
5 gamer score.
Is it that easy to poke the bear with a stick?
Oh, it's that easy to giggle when poking the bear with a stick.
I got you. Okay.
We do all the hard work. All you have to do at home is
you just
giggle
have to laugh at it.
When Glenn gets riled up, and then you start giggling because we're doing it on purpose.
Okay, move along.
Not that we ever
Move
go
along.
on purpose.
Another one I like is I'm their number 1 fan. If you've ever been designated number 1. That's 10 gamer score. Another one is, wait, you've read all of it? Read Cyberman Bob, 15 gamer score.
The one that I got tickled at earlier, because Sean, I didn't see this the first time I read this. We were talking about the differences in spelling of words from the UK to the US. And one of them that's on here is... I lost it now.
I think it's in the top.
It is in the top. It's called With Only an L. Or with only 1 L. And still listening to Traveling Vortex. Even though it's only spelled with 1 L. And that's 25 game reports.
That's 25.
Because you found the show, regardless of the fact that you're still spelling
You're
it
still
with
listening to it. So. And we have some dedicated ones. I don't think I'm going to read those off. I dedicated
Right now they're secret achievements.
They're secret achievements until you go to the website and look at them. But I have some dedicated ones to specific listeners.
Yes.
So if you've been listening, more than likely you are on here. And if you're not, don't worry. There's DLC coming.
Right. Got a chance for 500 more gamer score.
There's an achievement which will allow you to possibly get one of those special achievements.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Which is send in feedback. And then let us know.
That's right.
And
that's true.
we will be able to become a regular correspondent with us and
A pen pal.
a pen pal.
So look for that on the website. And
And kudos to Sean, by the
Well,
way,
thank
for
you.
putting this together because it's very imaginative, unlike some of the aliens in Doctor Who. And it is very, very, very well done. And I
an
I
achievement?
laugh and giggle each time.
I'm glad that you giggle.
So this is the new form of bingo.
New bingo.
Oh, but bingo's on here.
The bingo is on it. Well, that doesn't replace bingo.
Oh, no, bingo's still
This is just an
ongoing.
addition to bingo.
We're still
Yeah.
waiting for our first bingo card.
Yeah. Somebody's going to send one in with it filled out. So.
Apparently, we haven't been doing good bingo games for our podcast.
Well, let's talk about Lost so we can mark that square off.
Well, you just
Well, no,
mentioned
no.
it, so
If
that's
you,
good.
No, because if you force it, that's like reaching in and looking at the numbers before you draw it out. That doesn't count right. So.
Okay.
That's true. I'm sure I can work Lost into one of these Davros stories.
I have completely forgotten what we're doing this week beyond.
Oh, screw it. Let's
Davros.
just do,
Oh, that's right. This is Dalek 3 or / Davros 2.
Now, this is
Adversary.
an old one, right?
Huh?
What do you mean?
This isn't New Who synopses? I have time to refill my water glass.
This
You
is
do.
Yeah, this is old. So yeah,
You better
Sean,
hurry, though.
Sean, you can leave and come back because this one will be a while.
Trapped in a time corridor, the TARDIS veers off course, emerging in London's deserted docklands. In the far future, a prison ship in deep space comes under attack. These two remote events are linked by one terrible purpose. Davros, the ruthless creator of the Daleks, has been liberated after 90 years of imprisonment to assist in the resurrection of his army. He's their best hope for finding the antidote for the deadly anti-Dalek virus devised by their longtime robotic rivals, the Movellans. Davros sets about in his appointed task with a secret agenda of his own, one that may force the Doctor to descend to Davros's level of evil.
Da-na-na.
I really liked this story. I thought this was really good. It took a little bit to understand where it was going and what it was doing. But there was so much, just the overall story of it, the fact that they tied it back into the last Davros and Dalek I had seen,
Yeah.
which I'm assuming was the last anyone had seen.
Yeah, Destiny would have been the last, yes.
Which was a little lackluster of a story, if I remember correctly.
Yes. It touched on the war between the Movellans and the...
Well,
no, not Movellans.
Movellans
Okay,
and the
Movellans
Daleks.
and the Daleks.
Yeah,
And how they were locked in...
Silver
essentially,
Dreadlocks.
they were locked in a stalemate because they couldn't basically use their creativity to outthink each other. And
Yeah. But the fact that they tied all of this in,
the Daleks do get the upper hand, obviously.
where Davros has been, the fact that they explain
The
all
prison
of that.
ship.
They lose.
Oh, that's right. They did lose because it was the virus was
Well,
released.
and this, the Doctor blew them all up. Actually, Davros blew them all up. Because
That's right. Yeah,
he
well,
had
but
all
no,
the
but-
Daleks strapped
but this
with
was-
explosives
this was
to go
just-
off the Movellan ship.
This
but the
was
Doctor let
just
his hand
this
go.
faction, though.
The faction.
The war was still going
The
on.
war
Right,
was
that's
still
what I'm
going
saying.
But
yes.
then they got hit with the virus.
Right,
So
exactly.
they've been under some. It's been a bad few years.
But
for
don't
the
they
Daleks
say that
here.
the Daleks actually wiped out the Movellans, so they won, but the virus had already been unleashed, right? And is that
Yeah,
what
I
they
believe
addressed
so.
in
I believe
I
so.
did not
Revelation?
remember that actually.
I thought so.
I thought they had addressed that in Revelation, but maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly.
Maybe not.
It has been 3 weeks. I don't know.
Regardless, the
The war
virus-
is mentioned. The war
the
is
war
mentioned.
is
War is
mentioned,
definitely mentioned.
Yeah.
and this virus, which I found very interesting, that the androids would go to that extent to chemical warfare to defeat the Daleks.
Right.
When obviously the Daleks can't do that because these are completely androids.
Right.
I thought was interesting. There was a lot with the. I'm going to say unit.
It's not unit. It's not unit. It's a military bomb squad. They
Yeah.
say
Okay,
that in the
that's
episode,
true.
guys. They don't.
There was
ever
another
say
one that I
it's-
thought was
it
Dalek
unit.
before, or unit before unit. That was the most recent one.
That's some. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Now I will.
Any military in Doctor Who is presumed to be unit.
When we get to Remembrance, I believe
Remembrance.
that is going to be one that you could say this is
Yeah.
probably the precursor to unit.
But-
But this
but it-
squad that is in Revelation.
And honestly, I
is
didn't
set in,
realize.
I'm assuming
until,
the 1980s because I mean it's roughly present day
Right.
No,
Earth, which
this one?
when that aired,
Yeah.
yes.
Well,
and so
I honestly watching it, I didn't know that this was set in the future.
how far in the future?
It doesn't say, but the description says.
Well, the space station stuff was in the future
Yes,
because it's connected to present day Earth with the time corridor.
correct.
Yeah.
Time
Present day
corridor
Earth
is
was present day Earth.
what is
Oh, okay.
bridging the two.
Okay.
That's what I mean. Present day Earth, but yeah.
yeah. Oh, okay.
So
I'm assuming.
anything you see with the soldiers that are grounded on
just
Earth,
just a bomb squad.
it's just a military bomb squad. So
I'm going to disagree with that.
even the continuity guides don't go so far as to say that's unit
I'm not
or
gonna-
speculate the fact that it's unit.
I'm not
So-
going to say come out and say that it's unit, but I am going to speculate that it is more than just a military bomb squad because they had Velma.
Yeah.
Well, but I think
They
any,
had they
any
had
sort
a
of
scientific advisor,
but
and
any
a bomb
sort of-
squad would not have that.
well, I disagree. Any sort of regiment that's out exploring something that might be unknown to them, not necessarily. I don't think they went in there saying this is alien. That's why I don't think it's unit. But they went in and they said, okay, we've got something here that could be biological or could be nuclear that we've never seen before. Let's bring in a scientific advisor so they can look at that and determine if there's any sort of advanced technology here, any sort of technology that we don't understand as a specific bomb squad. And so they come in and they say, okay, we bring the scientific advisor in case we have questions based on the technicalities of this particular bomb. We haven't seen this kind of thing before, so let's bring an expert in that might be able to lend some scientific value to it.
and that would imply a newbie. That would imply somebody brought into the existing group to assist and advise. And I did not get that impression. I got the impression that she had been with these guys for a while. There was a level
Well,
of familiarity
true.
there.
Okay,
that
but
they-
let's
they
just
worked
say
together
I'm not
before.
saying she was brought in specifically for this. I think she is somebody that
She's
is
on
a-
retention?
She's a military scientist. She probably works with all different kinds of units. She happens to be working with this particular unit this time because there's something unexplained about it. She's on the government payroll. She works for the military.
So what you're saying is she works with units.
She probably might often work with unit at some point. I don't know. She didn't disclose that. But this particular group was not unit. There's no insignias. There's no reason to believe that these guys were unit at all.
Well,
Even though they have a scientific advisor.
regardless,
Any British
if-
military that shows up in Doctor Who is unit. That's my gun, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
regardless, there's a lot of.
So you're saying in the Sea Devils, oh wait, you didn't watch it.
Oh, that's just me. And yes,
wasn't the brig in the Sea Devils?
Nope. It was the British Royal Navy in the Sea Devils.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
No.
that's the aquatic branch of unit.
No.
It's like G.I. Joe. They
So
have,
what you're saying
they have
is
sailors.
MI6 in turn is unit, and so James Bond works for unit.
Yes.
Okay.
I think James Bond works for Torchwood, but that's me.
Yeah, but his mandate, well, he does fit more into the we're going to blow it up. No, he's totally a unit thing, because unit blows stuff up, Torchwood salvages it. So,
Oh, that's true.
I'll count that one.
But regardless, this is a very. I really enjoyed this story. Even though Peter Davidson's Doctor does some things a little out of character, like picking out guns
more than once,
and literally pointing a gun at somebody, let alone Davros.
Well,
But-
he shoots the mutated.
Yeah.
The mutated Dalek. They're all mutated. He shoots the Dalek, the one that gets outside the core. Well,
and he almost shoots that cat.
yeah,
Yeah.
he does almost shoot the cat, thinking that it's the Dalek. So, yeah.
And didn't I call that one? On Friday Night Who? I was like, watch it be a cat. And then
Oh,
the cat
yeah.
jumped out.
Had you not seen Revelation?
I had seen the first and last episodes of Revelation. I had not seen anything in the middle.
Sean, I'm starting to feel like you're probably
We're-
much of a newbie to some of these things.
Quite honestly, we are. We're starting to range into some of those that
Because
I have not seen.
there's a contingency of ones there for a while. In our 50 weeks of doing this, I can probably only count on one hand the ones I had not seen, and I can. We're running into having to start count on toes now, as far as
mine is
ones
much
you
higher.
haven't seen.
It's
interesting.
I freely
didn't
admit
realize.
that. I admitted that from back at the beginning, though. Because
You did. You
I
really
mean,
did.
obviously, my Who basis is Baker.
Baker,
I mean,
yeah.
that Tom Baker is. I mean, that was the guy. And I was
Despite owning all the VHS.
well. It was just because I was in such a state of shock and denial when he left, and not knowing how the mechanics of that worked. And I freely admit, I didn't give Peter Davison a fair chance. It wasn't that he was bad. He just wasn't my guy.
Right.
So I tuned out for a while, and it wasn't until I just happened to come back to it on the omnibus nights that they were showing Pertwee, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" I mean, so I was as confused as that as I
Right.
was upset that he had left. Then once I figured out that obviously there are more than one Doctor,
Right.
and this has been going for a while, then I started to go back and watch some. But of course, by that time, they showed the handful of Pertwees that they had access to and went right back into Baker.
Baker,
again.
yeah.
So,
So you ran through the Baker
you
run.
know, I ran through those again. And then I was off of it for a while and didn't come back to it till Sylvester McCoy, which is why I've seen so many of the Sylvester McCoys. So
Right.
there's a good chunk of you know,
There's a lot of Colin Baker you probably have never
no,
seen.
yeah, like
So
I
you're
said,
probably
Colin
just
Baker's real spotty
discovering
for
a
me,
lot of that.
and Peter Davison's real spotty for me, as is, quite honestly, William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton are both spotty.
Well,
as
those are the
Well.
spotty ones for me as well. And number one, because a lot of those don't exist,
Yeah.
and number
Well.
two, because I didn't have access to those when I was a kid. It wasn't until later when I started, finding other means to get
Right.
those particular episodes
Yeah.
that I started watching those. So I'm the same way, and my Pertwee was limited just to the fact that I did the same thing when the omnibuses started. They started showing the movie length versions, as they called them on PBS, but they're what we call the omnibus now. Yeah, that was the Pertwee that I got as well, and probably the same amount of Pertwee what I had seen that you had seen.
Well,
so.
and like you mentioned, the fact that I'm owning them on VHS, then I'm stuck in that same quandary of, okay, I've got enough money left over from the paycheck that I can go out and buy a Doctor Who VHS. What do you get? Oh, look, they've got this guy, they've got this guy, they've got this guy, but I haven't seen those episodes. So do
Yeah.
I want to spend $20 on a VHS tape of something I haven't seen, or do I want to pick up Android Invasion, which is like one of my all-time favorites, and it's Tom Baker and Sarah Jane, and I'm okay with that. So, I bought a lot of Tom Baker VHS as well. I did branch out a little bit to get some sampling of the other guys. And
Right.
I pretty much
Well, you've got a good number of Colin Baker over there, which I'm surprised. I mean,
Well,
there's
now on DVD.
DVD, yeah.
right. You're talking
Five.
about VHS, but
Yeah.
oh gosh,
Sorry, I
Ouch.
hit the table. It hurt too, by the way. I've got
is it
five.
five?
Colin
Yeah,
Baker.
okay. There's a tiny one over there, I guess.
No, there's four.
No, there's one right here.
That one.
Well, there's a tiny head Colin Baker over there. I didn't realize that changed so much.
Oh, you mean on the
Yeah.
time lash? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good.
Let me know.
I don't know. You know what saddens me is I've only got one McGann.
At least you have everything available.
You have more in audio, though.
Yeah, I know.
Back to Resurrection of the
Let's go back to
Daleks.
Resurrection.
Yeah,
of
we
the Daleks.
tangented it again.
Yet
Right,
again,
flashbacks.
I get the
Count that one. All right, go ahead.
departure of a companion
Yeah,
before I've seen the introduction.
This was the other thing. I got wrapped up in the middle part of the story, and so it wasn't until we got back to episode 4 that it started to come back to me. It's like, okay, this is where I remember seeing this, this, and this. And then we got to the end and it was like, oh, crap. I forgot Tegan leaves in this one.
Which, as long as she's been with the Doctor, it's a little disappointing of a leave, I think.
That she's just had enough and that's
Yeah,
it.
I like that's a change. I'm assuming that's a change if she's had enough of the adventure of the death that surrounds the Doctor, which was so telling of the Doctor in general as a character that she leaves because of the death that surrounds him.
Yeah.
Even though he tries his best to prevent it, there's still countless death, and that even carries over in the New Who.
Well, doesn't she know that if she stuck around, he probably wouldn't be as vengeful and wouldn't become the Sixth Doctor?
No.
No,
They hadn't really explored that yet. I mean,
you have to. That was just it. I mean, with the departures we have seen, just
kinda
in the time
points
that you're
out
watching,
in this.
just in the time that you're watching, we've seen some departures.
Yes.
First departure we saw Well, the first one technically we saw was Sarah Jane, but let's go back in actual chronological order. You saw the departure of Susan.
Yes.
And that essentially was she falls in love with somebody, would have continued on with the Doctor and gave it away, but the Doctor realized that it was probably more important that she stay with somebody and have a stable life and a life that he knows that she would go on and better herself as. You see Sarah Jane, who does leave in the sense of, okay, I'm just not going to put up with this anymore, but it's more of a...
But it's more of a, I've been called back to Gallifrey.
No. Wait. No, Sarah Jane, in her sense, is she's fed up with going through the hypnosis and all that, and she's basically bluffing the Doctor that I'm going to leave, knowing that the Doctor would say, "Okay, no, Sarah, really, patch things up."
See, and that's why I don't consider that.
Well, it's
her
not
leaving.
Exactly. She's not really going to go.
She doesn't want to leave.
It's not until the Doctor gets dispatched to Gallifrey and realizes he can't bring her that
Yeah.
he calls her bluff, and he's not even calling her bluff in the sense that he's calling the bluff. He's just, okay, this is a good opportunity to break ways because I'm
going to have to send you off anyways.
Exactly. So let's go with this. So yeah, that doesn't even play into this as well. Then you got
she even comments at the end of Hand of Fear, and he says, "I've been recalled to Gallifrey," and she even makes the comment, "Well, let's go."
Yes, exactly.
I
because
can't take it,
and he does say that, and so it's a nice.
That's
moment.
why I don't consider it.
No,
her choosing.
Agreed. And that's what. Yeah, I would agree. And then Leela. Now, Leela is a little different in the sense that this is the first time that a companion is leaving him.
She chooses to
but
stay.
She chooses.
She's
got
the relationship thing
again. It's a Susan situation, except for this time it's the companion deciding that.
Yeah.
And it's not that she's leaving the Doctor because of something that the Doctor has done. It's something that has changed in her. And so it's her time to leave. She has had her adventure, much like Martha. She's had her adventure, but she's ready to go back to another life, a different life. She's ready to start a new life. And so you don't even get that there. So yes, Tegan then, when we come along, and have I missed any others in between there?
No, I don't think so, because I haven't seen Joe's or I haven't seen Liz's.
Perry, Mel, Ace. No, you haven't seen any of them leave.
Well, and that would be after chronologically.
Right. And Ace,
I haven't
you've
even
seen Ace's last story, television-wise, but she technically, as far as we know, she went off and had more adventures because they walk off into the...
I don't think I've seen... Well,
Grace.
Have I seen...
Yeah, you did see Grace. Yeah, Grace.
Yeah.
And Grace
and the Asian child.
Grace.
She did travel in the TARDIS.
Grace.
If you want to count
that.
have I seen Harry's?
Grace is an unconventional companion because Grace leaves the Doctor before she gets a chance to become a certified
before
companion.
she actually travels.
She actually gets to become a companion. She is what is, for all intents and purposes, the companion to the Eighth Doctor. She is that. She is that.
There's no other option.
However,
also
she isn't the true companion that travels and has adventures with the Doctor because she doesn't even go.
They
she
don't
doesn't
travel.
even get it. She's like Donna.
She
does.
Because she's in the TARDIS in flight at the end of the movie when they use it to reset the.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The universe, and then they land back in the park.
I mean, we throw that traveled in the TARDIS as a qualifier for companion.
I'm sorry, too many people do that as a qualifier.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't work. I mean, for that matter, she didn't travel through space, but the gal in the Silurian two-parter that drops to the center of the Earth with him, she basically traveled in the TARDIS. I wouldn't consider her a companion.
Yeah, that's true.
But she could have been.
Well, that's one of the ones that the only ones that I agree with you, and I say, or not that I don't agree with the ones that you say. It's just you always see them ahead of time. I've never done that, with the exception of her. I did go, yeah, okay, I can see him farming her as a companion. Anyway, but there's no tangent. I'll write that one down.
Is this speaking of potential companions, and we mentioned this when we watched Voyage of the Damned? Is this the episode that has the younger version of the old crotchety guy, or the old guy that?
No, not yet.
Is that Revelation?
That's Revelation.
So,
spoilers.
But anyway, so yeah, now we're at Tegan's leaving, and Tegan is now leaving because she is certainly, at this point, fed up with just really the way that her adventures with the Doctor are turning out, and it's really kind of an abrupt. Wow, she just kind of stuck it to him there at the end and left, and it feels weird for a companion leaving that way. Although she does kind of run back as though maybe she changed her mind, but too late.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, that's true.
She has her...
I don't know. You almost get the impression and I certainly feel this from the Peter Davidsons that I've seen, is you get companions that get the goods as well as the bads, and we only ever manage to televise the bads. They only ever show the, oh man, we got dropped into the middle of this war zone on this planet. Oh man, we got dropped into the middle of this political intrigue on this planet. Oh man, we got dropped into the middle of the monster eating people on this planet.
Or the companion manipulation of the Mara Tales. I mean, we can't go there because Sean hasn't seen them. Keith hasn't seen them. Well, there you go. Okay, we're buying the Mara Tales. We're going to fit that in here soon because we've got to watch them.
It's on the schedule.
They're fantastic.
It's on the schedule.
Anyway, go ahead.
I promise you, Chrissy, they're on the schedule. No more emails.
They are wonderful, Chrissy. Now, story-wise, they're lacking there.
But, we hear about, we went and took this vacation to the blah, blah, blah planet of this.
Yeah.
We went and did this wonderful thing. And you get glimpses of it, like Sarah Jane in her bathing suit when they go back to the Antarctic. I mean, you get glimpses of it.
Well, even at the beginning of the Five Doctors, Tegan and Turlough commenting on that when they land on... Yes. Was it the Eye of Harmony?
No.
Eye of Orion.
Yes.
Right? Anyway, wherever they are,
wherever they land,
it's
like
Earth
this,
after
the thunderstorm.
It's this solemn. We're just enjoying the moment. Now, of course, they're ripped away from that, but
you get the feeling that that's kind of the way that her adventures went with the Fifth Doctor. Is that they never really got that downtime.
Right,
that it just went from one to the next to the next to the next. And then
but she was with the Doctor for so long.
Yeah, she was with him.
She was with the Fourth Doctor, wasn't she?
Yes, she started out with the Fourth Doctor. Yes. Yeah. Legopolis.
In Legopolis. And ran for most of Peter Davidson's run.
Right.
So, I mean...
Well, up until here.
2-some-odd years.
Yeah. Well, real time for us.
Real time.
As we mentioned last week, she leaves at the end of one season, comes back at the beginning of the next season. So, episode-wise, she's been around the whole time.
Yeah.
But there is a 1 year... I do recall them talking about a 1 year... She's gone. They're actually, him and Nisa are off doing things before she comes back with them. And anyway, so
at any rate, you just get the feeling that she got the raw end of the deal. That most of her adventures dealt with. We got this, and this versus the holiday planets and that kind of stuff. So I can see where
she feels jilted.
She feels a little.
She
jilted
didn't get
from
the
that
rewards
standpoint.
of. So many of the rewards of traveling with the Doctor. Yeah. It's more of the.
I don't foresee Peter Davison ever hanging onto her ankle as she dangled outside. The door.
Absolutely.
I don't think that happened.
No,
or
certainly not in that skirt.
Or the holidays contrasted so much of what we saw that she couldn't handle with what we saw compared to the holidays. I could see that also.
I don't know if you gave me one awesome planet of diamonds and look at the amazing vistas and look at any of the planets that he visited with Rose there at the during that stretch where space whales and things swimming around and just being awesome, just being that, I'd put up with Dalek invasions because I knew that was out there. That to me is the hope that makes the show work. That makes my companionship worthwhile.
Even that pool at the Pleasure Palace in Midnight.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's that nice that you're going to stay there for 5 hours. Sorry.
And it doesn't have to be waterfalls of sapphire and diamonds.
Right.
It just has to be someplace
amazing.
An entire planetary library. Oh yeah! I mean, yeah. Supernovas, cool. Yes, Dalek Invasion. Okay, this one wasn't so great, but when's the next one of those? I mean, that to me would totally counterbalance that. I just get the feeling that Tegan...
Skara was cool until they went to the city. Petrified Forest, come on, that's kind of neat.
That was scary.
But then when you get to the city... and
Susan had to run through it. I saw it. It was scary.
Yeah, but that was only running back from it. Yeah.
And then there was that giant chasm.
I guess I just haven't seen enough of hers to see that.
That's true, because you've only seen... With Tegan, you've only seen the 5 Doctors, which almost doesn't count as a true Tegan episode because it's a multi-Doctor episode.
I've seen a decent amount.
You've seen Warriors of the Deep.
Oh, some of
Black Orchid.
Oh no, I saw
all of Warriors of the Deep. We're going to go through this again.
The
only one you've seen part of is Sea Devils.
Yes.
That's the only one you've seen part of.
Warriors of the Deep, Resurrection of the Daleks, Black Orchid,
Earthshock,
Earthshock,
and now this one. So you've seen 5.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot of Tegan.
Apparently,
Believe me, you've seen a lot of Tegan. And the shorter her skirts got, the more you got to see of her. Anyway.
I'm in favor of those. I mean, this outfit.
Because one of the
in.
achievements on here was, I'll keep talking while I find it.
I know exactly what it is.
The outfit
The
that she's
description
wearing,
anyways.
the outfit that she's wearing in this, I mean, it screams 80s. It's a
Oh,
very
yeah.
80s ensemble. I mean, she looks like she walked off the set of a Duran Duran video. It's very much there. But Tegan has the misfortune of wearing some odd stuff.
She really does.
And this is one of the, wow, you are a knockout in that outfit. It's totally inappropriate for the whatever planet we landed on. I don't care where we're at. You can't wear that out the doors of the TARDIS because you're going to get stuck in mud, fall off a cliff.
Right.
Haven't you been watching your own adventures? I know what's going to happen to you. You shouldn't wear
You've been
that.
living them. You should just know.
But I mean, she looks great in that outfit.
Here's the achievement. Friday Night Who buzzer beater. Call a companion hot before Sean. A lot of our Friday Night Who followers will really get a kick out of that one. But yes. No.
I don't know if it's art, but I know what I like.
Well, let's talk about the this
Davros
obviously is Davros
aspect.
and Daleks. So
How many deaths did we ever count? Did
There
we ever
was
go back and find
so
out
many
how
to
many?
count.
no, I don't think we have.
There was a lot of deaths in this episode.
There is a lot.
There's
The
almost
death
a
count is high
disturbing,
in
and
this
this is
one.
weird because I've talked about this before, where I don't feel like I'm an old fuddy-duddy, but sometimes it comes through. There's a disturbing amount of dead people in this episode. I mean, man, left and right, even. I don't know.
I'm so used to people dying. I mean, when I first started watching British television, I'd watch it on PBS, and it was really odd for me to watch it because I grew up in the 80s and was watching a lot of this British television in the 80s, early 90s, where on TV you didn't die. I mean, the A-Team, Knight Rider, all these different shows, Dukes of Hazzard. I mean, I grew up on these television shows where people were like, injured, but they crawled out of the car after it rolled over and exploded, 3 times. But you always got that cutaway of the guy crawling out, being fine. People did not die. They got shot in the leg. That was the worst of the violence. But people did not die. And then you turn around and you watch British television, and there's a whole different mentality. They treat death as it should be, as death. I mean, it's just it's part of life. It's something that you just sort of accept. So maybe I've grown more, maybe because Doctor Who is British television to me. Maybe I've become more accustomed to it. So I don't see However, in this one, even I sit back and go, "Wow, for Doctor Who, that's a lot of death." So yeah, the death count is very high, and I don't know that it gets high enough to where the fuddy duddy in me comes out and says, "Okay, my daughter is not watching this. There's far too much violence." But on the flip side of it, it is for being Doctor Who. It is. Wow, because people have always died in Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, that
has been there from
a
the beginning.
staple. When you get somebody that doesn't die, it almost feels weird.
Yeah, it does.
When that one guy makes it back from the adventure, and you're kind of like, huh, I'd had money on you going down.
Right, exactly.
I
I picked you as the red shirt right
you
from
were
the
just,
beginning.
it's almost a little unsettling.
Right.
The caretaker in 3 Doctors.
Yes.
That guy
Yeah.
was dead. As soon as he evaporated, it was like, oh, you are so dead. And he made it. It was like,
all the way to the
wow. Okay. But this one, I mean, because you've got the crew in the spaceship dies. All the
even
we got to talk about the stupid Dalek hats that they wore.
which they brought back later.
Yeah,
In Remembrance.
Because then, they
only now they're motorcycle helmets with the thing. But they all die. Everybody on the space station dies. All of the unit staff
bomb
dies.
squad.
All of the Daleks die.
Which, honestly, for me, all the death is a little refreshing considering I got the hiccups all of a sudden. Sorry.
I really wanted to scream "bang" really loud, but I was concerned about a reaction from somebody. So.
Considering how much the Daleks talk about exterminating, all the other adventures with the with the Daleks there's a lack of death considering the amount of talk of extermination.
Yeah. The Daleks are very ineffectual exterminators. They don't kill many people.
Despite half of the deaths aren't caused by the Daleks, at least it feels like a Dalek episode because it's just
This is the sad thing, is that this is recorded. We could pause at any point in time and allow you to get over this. But no, because we are that heartless, we're going to make everybody listen to you hiccup and laugh at you.
Oh my gosh!
Would you like a glass of water, a paper bag to breathe into, or something?
maybe a paper bag. With Daleks, you expect a high death count.
Yes.
And until here, you haven't gotten that. And that's one of the things I liked about this episode.
Yes, that's true. That's true. It's not just and it's not just Dalek kills that are part of the death count. It's more so than that too.
Yeah,
it adds to it because you got the other faction that's trying to survive.
Yeah,
from the prison ship,
who
have dressed as the. I like to call them Robo-Men, but it's funny that every time the Daleks show up, they're using some sort of Robo-Man or slave or pig slave or it's boy, bad design, Davros. I mean, if you really had to have them utilize other, you're not even talking now.
I tried to make it quiet. I'm sorry.
I don't have a paper sack. I have a popcorn bag.
Peanut butter. You got that's the best cure. Spoonful of peanut butter. That will do it every time. Yeah. That will do it every time. Trust me. It will happen. Anyway, so yes, horrible design, Davros, because you got them utilizing slaves of some sort of any species that they pick up each time, because.
I always have the worst hiccups because they're always loud.
They sound very violent too. You're like convulsing over the.
I have violent hiccups.
Wow.
He looks a little bit like he got exposed to the Movellan virus.
We'll try this peanut butter trick.
Good use of the scarf. He's wrapped it around his mouth so that we don't hear the hiccups. And we still do. Don't put that spoon in the jar.
Oh yeah, I'm totally eating off of this now. Unless you're not done with it. I'm going to sit here and eat the peanut butter.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well, there's not much left, but bacteria gets in there and then it's pretty much dead. So
it's Keith.
I don't have cooties.
No, I'm not saying
he just has whatever
but
causes
if you put
hiccups.
this back in the cupboard after you've put a spoon that went into somebody's
Oh,
mouth,
yeah.
it's going to culture and grow. You'll have a nice experimental culture here by the end of it.
I'm kidding. Jeff is so processed.
You got to eat it.
This home remedy for hiccups is brought to you by Jif Creamy Peanut Butter. Fresh roasted peanut taste in every bite.
What Keith doesn't know is that we've replaced his regular Jif peanut butter with Alpo.
Don't let him spoon peanut butter all over my computer. It'd be half processed at this point.
Anyway, anything else that we can
I want to talk about the...
talk about?
I've forgotten, quite honestly, the setup for this. That we've got this prison in space that gets invaded by this army.
And if I remember right, Davros is frozen. He's cryogenically frozen at the end of Destiny.
He is. And I loved the continuity and the fact that it's been 90 years that he's been on ice. But here's my one problem with that. The place has fallen apart. I mean, they make
prison ship.
They make several reactions to the space station as the panels don't work, the captain's overbearing, the blah 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 blah. I'm sorry, you have Davros locked up on ice. He's probably the one prisoner you guys have. I didn't really get a sense that there was a...
Well, you don't. You really
there's not a great prison.
They don't run into other cells.
And if there was, well, then we can add those people to the death total because all those prisoners died when the spaceship blew up. But you've got Davros. That's got to be the most high max security prison in the galaxy.
But
I
who
mean,
knows?
it shouldn't be a broken down.
The Doctor, there's obviously
I
90
assume-
years between the time that the Doctor leaves Davros and the time that he arrives.
Right.
And I think that the Doctor would have been the only one that would have been driving the point of how important it is to keep this. So after 90 years...
Well, the young kid did. The young kid was all like, we're not going to let this happen. And
Well,
anything
that's
we can
true.
do.
They did.
But then
They
they've got
sorta
all these
did.
ridiculous safeguards on the self-destruct button.
But don't you suppose that it's probably the people that are closest to Davros, everybody on that ship, or closest to guarding Davros, understand the severity of keeping. But there's probably some bureaucrat somewhere that is, cutting tape and cutting
That's true.
corners, and that's the reason why. It's because there's somebody up there that's a bean counter that doesn't understand the importance of this person, and that's why this ship is falling apart. So everybody around him that know how dangerous
Well,
he
they
is
almost make reference to
are
that.
holding this together.
Yeah. I don't know. I keep flashing back to, if World War II had ended differently and we had captured Hitler and we locked him up, I wouldn't let the facility degrade. I mean, that's all I'm saying.
Well, I don't know.
Especially
I mean,
if Hitler's army had escaped
Yeah.
and was still lurking around out there, waiting for the opportunity to bring him back.
That's the thing is I don't well, I guess you do get the impression from Destiny that there are other factions out there. So we didn't take care of the Daleks. We just took care of the ones that were coming down to get Davros to help them
The
be more
advanced unit.
creative.
No, I never for a minute believed that all Daleks everywhere did.
yeah.
Even when Rose did it, it was like, no.
I don't know. That was the one time in history I thought I went, maybe. Maybe this is the last we'll see of the Daleks.
Nope.
But I love the idea. Now, I agree with you. It was very disjointed because it feels like there are two completely separate stories going on with the weird stutterer in the warehouse and then the prison ships thing that's going on here. And I'll be honest, I'd forgotten a lot about this episode because it wasn't until the guys with the eye stalk show up that I went, I know who's in the prison. I mean, that was, it literally was, and I've seen this.
I assumed who was in the prison because I knew what was coming.
Well, yeah, but because it was so back and forth. I mean, it really kind of took me back. Like, if this was the first time I'd ever seen this on broadcast television, I'd have been like glued to the set trying to figure out what was going on.
Right.
And then that reveal of that and again,
that was a great reveal.
You
props
put
to the
yourself,
set
yeah.
department
You put yourself
again,
in
because they
the
did such a
the
good job
mindset
with
of
these.
watching this for the first time
Yeah.
40 years ago or 30 years ago. Yeah, so absolutely,
How long ago was it?
80s, 30 years
84.
almost.
Wow. But
Hey, this came out the year I was born.
thanks for making me feel old there, Keith. Props
It's
again
old-
to the.
still older.
We didn't watch this when it came out. We didn't
It's
see this
still-
until the late 80s.
it's still older
Davison
than me.
wasn't running in the United States until the late 80s, mid to late 80s.
But props to the set designers because the spaceship stuff was cool. Everything, I mean, the hallways and it was a lot of
yeah.
quarters.
Right.
But look at the production this one had because you've got the warehouse. Obviously, that was location. But then you've got the space station.
Which and the idea of a time corridor, though not thoroughly explored, is an interesting idea.
Well,
in
and
general.
they've done it before. They do it a lot.
Yeah,
actually,
well,
in
you-
Doctor Who, where
Oh,
there's
way to drop the ball, guys.
Well,
This is my first introduction to a time corridor.
I think it's a good. I think it's a good. But it's a good introduction to a time corridor
is a good
because
introduction to
it shows you that it isn't just the time vortex. It's
There's a
usually
corridor.
there's corridors. Well, there's several corridors. It's not just one offshoot. It's and they're basically the corridors bridge between one point in time and another point in time, or one location in time and another location in time. So I mean that's typical. And that's one of the reasons why
I guess
the TARDIS crew is pulled into
That's why
this
they
adventure
cross.
is
Corridor.
because they cross through that corridor
Yeah.
as they're traveling through time as well. So
I guess technically you're used more to the transmat. Where it's
Yes.
Oh yeah,
The transmat
planet.
Yeah.
in
And
fact, we get another transmat
Yeah, we
this
did,
week
we did.
as well.
But yeah, the time corridor is a fairly it's used a lot, and specifically the Daleks use it a lot to wreak havoc.
Yeah.
So, but we've got the space station, which has one look, and it's completely different from the few interiors that we get of the Dalek ship, where the time corridor is attached to, and we get the fantastic cryo room. I mean, that's that immense glass wall with the fog. I mean, that's a reveal.
Yes.
That is
No,
such a great.
I hate that I interrupted you because that's what you were going.
Yeah, that's where I was
with
going
that,
with it. That's such a great, as Keith said, it's a great reveal, but it's a big, epic, da-na-na moment, and that's all great. And then there's one other one, I don't remember what it was, that I made. Well, the labs are even... Because I thought it was unusual when we get the one at the beginning that we're introduced to the Doctor, and she walks through the sick bay lab or whatever it is, and it's like, that's a very expansive, extensive set design for a room that we've only seen the one time.
Yeah, because we do only see it the once, because then he's moved to the other...
Yeah. And they spent a lot of some time on the bridge, too, which surprised me, that was in as much use as it was for as little time it was there. Yeah. And then, obviously, we do come back to the lab portion of it. But a lot of this I really, really, really like. It's a little disjointed. It's a little in that classic Who way that we've got to fill 4 episodes
right,
worth of time.
and that's what it feels like.
It's not so much
we're
filler,
going to stretch
but just,
this out a little
yeah.
bit, especially with what was the scientist's name?
The actual
Linda? No, what'd
the
you call
doctor?
her? Yeah, her and the and Tegan. There seemed like there was a lot of them trying
Velma.
to Velma, yes, Velma and Tegan trying to escape.
Yeah,
and formulating plans, and then the following. It was almost like just formulate a plan and then go by it. But you always have to have them come in and be interrupted and almost getting caught, and it almost seemed to be drawn out. And that obviously was what we were referring to as filler. I mean, that was what they were using in order to drag this out a bit.
Well, and boo to putting Tegan in a short skirt and then covering her with a blanket. What was up with that? Now, the end. Davros, high and mighty, I'm immune to the Movellan virus, you can't get me, and all of a sudden shaving cream starts pouring out of every orifice, and he's like, what's going on? And the chair's going haywire and everything. And I thought to myself, I was split. There was a part of me that was like, I'm very disbelieving on this, because Davros is, Davros from Genesis the Daleks is not that high and mighty, even though he is. Oh, he's more megalomaniacal in the intelligence range than he is in the ego range.
Yes, no, I agree.
And he's become more ego as these have progressed. But I can retcon it in my head, because it's like, he's been frozen for 90 years. Maybe that has started to do things
because
to
he
him.
makes comment of being conscious during that frozen time period.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that has just the hate and the anger have eaten away at him to the point where he's losing his grasp of what's important, because he should be working on all kinds of things, and he should not be staying on that space station.
Right.
That's rule 1. The Earth forces are coming. A distress signal was sent. We cannot stay here. I will stay here until I decide to leave. And he's bossing people around just for the sake of being able to do it.
But
it's like,
part
really?
but part of that is also his calculation of, he knows ultimately what these Daleks are going to do with him. That he knows that they're utilizing. He knows that they are utilizing him to get their cure, and from then on, they no longer need Davros.
He didn't have to work on the cure right away. I mean, he's got the little mind control device that he can prick people with.
I suppose that's true, but on the flip side of that, I think he was calculating the takeover of the Daleks again. And so I think that he realized that he needed some sort of time frame there, and that's why he was, even though...
Give him some leverage.
Exactly, and buy him some time, so... Now...
Good episode, though.
At the end of that one, I'll be honest with you, when he's... shaving creams flying out of his orifices and whatnot. Honestly, the first time I saw that, I believe that I had seen all of these in order in the day. And the first time I saw that, now that was only our third appearance of Davros in a story.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I believed at that time, that's it. We won't see Davros coming back. That
he's dead.
He's dead. Yeah,
He's
it was
gone.
because the first one you didn't necessarily see him die. The second one, they froze him, so you went, well, there you go. That's a convenient plot device. In this one, I went, no, he's not coming back. I mean, that's it. They've exhausted the Davros plot line. So I thought, until years later, when I got to see the Cullen Baker
Revelation
of the
Daleks.
Keith, why don't you lead us into Revelation of the Daleks if you've done hiccuping?
I'm done hiccuping. That peanut butter actually works
every time.
I'm surprised.
It is the only home cure ever.
Wow.
That works. I do it every day. not every day. Every time. I buy peanut butter every day just to keep the hiccups from coming.
And it is delicious.
It is delicious.
It is delicious.
I really like Jif too. that wasn't a promo plug or anything. I really like Jif.
The Doctor and Peri arrive on the planet Necros, the home of the Tranquil Repose, a funeral home for the galaxy's elite. But is this to be the Doctor's final resting place? And why do Daleks guard the inner sanctums of perpetually interred? Perhaps the great healer will have answers.
Da-na-na.
That's probably an appropriate dun. This isn't a fantastic episode. It's decent.
It's convoluted and confusing. Until you get to the end.
Well, it's a Colin Baker story. Trust me. When you see a lot more Colin Baker stories, you'll think all of them are convoluted.
I almost want to go back and rewatch it to understand it better.
This is my third viewing of this thing, and I didn't understand it.
I understand it in the fact that Davros is manipulating and is this great healer, and they don't explain how he survived the shaving cream.
Yeah,
well, except for, isn't it just his disembodied head that?
No, it's his whole body.
His whole body was. I couldn't remember
because
for sure.
because it's his disembodied head.
It starts off as just
that's
the
right,
head in the
because he keeps
jar.
spinning around, but then they
reveal that it's just
and then
a
all
puppet.
of a sudden another great reveal when the doors
That's
open
right,
and
it
he's
wasn't
actually
him.
there
That's
and
right.
it's a puppet and it was like, oh, because I hadn't seen this one either.
Yes, I forgot about that.
So
that was a fantastic reveal.
I actually went into this making the link from Davros' head in the jar. I did it again. I tried to put an R in there, except he does have an R, but it's in later. The head in the jar to Remembrance Davros, and I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
And then he shows up in the chair, and it's like, now I'm confused again.
All the stuff going on in the funeral parlor with Davros is interesting, and then there's the Doctor and Peri.
And zombies.
And it doesn't make any sense until the very end.
You find out why
and then
these people are out there zombieized.
It all somewhat coalesces, but doesn't quite jive. I enjoyed the Davros aspect of this.
Well,
more
the
than
idea
the Doctor
that
aspect of it.
Davros is taking these people in suspended animation, reviving them for his own experiments, and then turning them loose because he's this great healer who's been working on, and then turns them loose once they become these mutated forms that are no longer fit to be human or humanoid anyway. So, I don't know. It works, and I guess upon several viewings, I realized that. I'm embarrassed to say that it didn't hit me until this last time that I watched it that they're on the planet Necros, which is essentially a funeral planet. Duh.
Yeah.
Makes sense now. What about the DJ?
That's the problem with this
that
story.
was the weakest point of this story.
We've got Davros now. Well, there are multiple weak points, and I'm not even going to pick out the DJ in particular, but we've got Davros and his mechanisms for what's going on,
right?
And with the corporation, which they never really explain why he needs money.
That's the other thing,
other than to fund my experiments.
Right.
Really? I mean, I guess when you are the head creator. And, I mean, they make reference to that in Genesis of the Daleks, that he expects other divisions to sacrifice their needs in fighting the war to fund his research into the Daleks. Right. So I guess, realistically, once again, the Doctor Who has never been a universe without money. It's fairly prevalent in all these things. So it's funny in that respect, because it's like, wait, what? You need cash? Go get a payday loan. I mean, what are you doing? Okay. But you've got that very interesting arc.
I almost have the bank from Despicable Me in my head.
the evil villain bank.
Yeah,
that's what they needed.
Go get a loan.
Go get a loan. So you've got that, and that's a very interesting arc. You've got the Doctor and Peri running around, and you know that they're going to tie into this at some point. And it
just takes too long.
We keep getting these little hints. And then they finally show up at Tranquil Repose after climbing over the wall and busting the pocket watch and ruining the cloak and doing all of that nonsense. We finally get there, and we've got this massive headstone to the Doctor. And you're beginning to go, okay, this is where the plot's going to start to come together here a little bit. But then we've got
wrong.
we've got a whole mess of characters. We've got the funeral home director,
Unnecessary character.
and he is the
one
old
that
guy.
was the older guy, and he's also the husband in Keeping Up Appearances.
The guy with the bad toupee,
Hairpiece,
who
yeah.
was in charge of everything, who was spurned the affections of Mimi.
Yes.
That's why I kept calling her.
Was weird that they had that whole underlying story going on as well.
I
Yeah.
kept calling her that on Friday night, who was as Mimi from the Drew Carey show.
Jobel.
Whatever her name was. She still looked like
Jobel
Mimi.
was the funeral director, right?
Jobel was the funeral
Jobel.
director. He's the professor from Voyager.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
giving
That's
me
right.
misinformation about Earth.
Which is cool that they ended up
Clive-
reusing the actor.
Clive Swift. I
Clive
believe
Swift.
is right.
But we've got the funeral home director and the love interest plot. Then we've got
Which
Sue-
doesn't really ever formulate
Yeah,
much.
that
I mean,
doesn't-
it's
it's-
almost like they have.
all it does is give her reason
Yeah.
to join up with Davros.
That's right.
That's
It's this
all it
jilted lover
serves.
idea, is what it is.
and it is a purely plot-driven. Give these people something to do so that we can get to point B.
Yes,
and,
yes.
and that I think falls down a little bit. We've got the other funeral home people who are in on the plot or formulating a revolution or doing whatever they're doing with that separate thing. And then we've got the DJ
And the grave robbers,
who's
too.
there for no reason.
The DJ was just.
and
Why do they need a DJ if they're in suspended animation?
yeah.
They're
And-
not
and
conscious.
Well,
who
I
is he
think that-
broadcasting to? The rest of the planet? I mean,
that's
I
the
get the
impression I get.
No, I
He's-
get the
he-
impression he's there for those in suspended animation. It's almost like, leaving a radio on next to a coma victim. They do that often so that if there's anything getting
Yeah.
through there, they can, they get something while they're in that,
So it's
that
not
sort
silence.
of sleep. So
Yeah.
I mean, I just
I guess that makes sense from the standpoint that Davros said in the previous episode that he was conscious, or not conscious, but
I hadn't thought of that.
he
That
was
plays
awake
in
and
well.
suspended in
Yeah.
animation. And
But that was...
it kind of sort of plays in with Dorium and Nuhu that you get a media chip installed and you can get Wi-Fi
Oh, right.
reception,
Yeah. That's right.
even down in the catacombs. So I guess the concept is sound, but he's still an abrasive, annoying character
Oh,
with no
yeah,
real
absolutely.
purpose.
Yes.
And then they unnecessarily tie him in because Peri wants to go see him.
Yeah. And it gives her an excuse to let's split Doctor and Peri up,
Yeah.
and then she can get
Yeah.
into danger.
Yeah.
He's the plot mechanism for that. Then we've got the
But
grave
there's no
robbers.
need for some of those. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The grave
the
robbers.
grave robbers show up, and they're completely unnecessary characters, other than to forward the plot
That bodies are
Davros
missing.
is
Yeah.
kidnapping these bodies and,
Right.
and doing things with them. And then we get a set of characters whom I love. We get I forget the name of the guild, the assassin,
Yeah.
who is hired by the president of the company to come and get Davros. And it's like, you went out and got Boba Fett. That's awesome. I mean, this guy was suave and cool.
Well, talking about honor.
And very honorable and very old school.
And
Very,
there was a lot of humor in that, too, which there wasn't much else in this story because of his squire that stinks.
that didn't bathe.
Yeah.
He reminded me a little bit of Shockeye, actually.
Yeah, that's true.
I was concerned when he first showed up. I was like, oh, you're going to be that guy. But he turned out to be really cool. But I loved everything with that guy. That guy deserves a spinoff.
Yeah.
That is totally a, let's see where the adventures of this guy lead, because he was awesome. But it's just one too many things going on. And then we get the reveal with Davros, where he's not just the talking head and
Right,
the great
that's
healer.
right, that's right.
That he is actually in the chair and somewhere along the line has acquired force lightning. Cool.
Which carries over to
He
Remembrance.
does have, if I remember this one correctly, he had or I guess it's this hand, he had metal fingertips.
Yeah,
Did
I think
he?
that's right. Yeah.
And I can totally see Davros creating I'm going to put these things on and then and channel the power of the chair or something.
Right.
Okay, I'm with you on that part. It doesn't make sense later. In the next one, we won't cover that. But, it's like, Davros has force lightning. Sweet. I mean, it just... the end of this really all of a sudden overcame all of the lackluster beginning and middle.
It does. It certainly picks up at the end and becomes sort of a payoff at that point.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it really does.
It just makes you wish that they had focused on that more and less on the absurdity of the funeral home director love plot.
Yeah. Well, they didn't really explore the financial aspect as much as they could have. I know you were like, well, get a loan, but the woman and her servants and all of that, they could have explored that almost a little more than the love interest.
I agree. I think, honestly, as strange as this sounds, because I've complained about the political backdrops that we get dropped into.
Why was she so interested in getting rid of the Great Healer? Why?
Well, other than that, she makes the one comment about the fact that they are apparently liquefying the dead and then turning around and repackaging it as food and sending it out, because we made the Soylent Green comment.
Yeah.
Right.
But other than that one dropped line, they don't really go into too much about it. And I think that was a really interesting thing. The other thing, what presidential ship was coming in? Because the funeral director and all the people are all about this person, and they're coming to see the dead body, so we've got to be ready, and the president's going to be here, and blah, 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 blah. And then they send off a warning message to not land, and they don't. And that was kind of the end of that. It's like...
Yeah,
there's no hostage crisis.
There,
I mean, wouldn't it have been a little more interesting if the president had actually showed up and then all of a sudden there was a hostage crisis on top of the other stuff? That would have been an interesting angle to take with it. And then you find out,
would have given you more of a essential action plot there, or something suspenseful,
a little more coherent of a story in that manner. Because at that point, when there's a hostage situation and the president's being captured by Daleks, then we find out that. He finds out that they're liquefying the dead and supplying food to the rest of the galaxy.
Absolutely.
Okay, now all of a sudden you've got a little more interesting of a dynamic to go with here. But as laid out, it's just it's like somebody had a bunch of great ideas for Doctor Who scripts and threw them all in a blender and hit frappe and poured it into a glass, and John Nathan Turner drank it and said, "Thank you, I will have another, and let's put this on the air right now." And I'm convinced that's what happened. Who wrote this one, by the way? Oh, wow, really? Eric Sward.
Oh.
What else has he written?
A lot of the good ones, surprisingly. He wrote that one.
No, Remembrance was...
he did write Eric Sward did write Remembrance.
Oh, no.
Or Resurrection.
Yes,
We're getting our R's confused again. He wrote Resurrection. And he is a script editor for a long time, too. But I don't know. Maybe that one changed midstream. Now, what I will say for this one, having not seen this before, because I hadn't,
I think Peri was really shown a lot in this episode.
I think so, too. I think Peri kind of falls into that, Doctor, can't we go back to the show? She kind of gets whiny.
Yeah.
And she was whiny in this, but in a different manner. And then, interestingly, once they got inside... and she took her clothes off. It got much more interesting. And that sounds horrible because I know what I sound like when I say that. But it did. You've got Peri, who's hot, and then you go out, you go on location shooting in the snow. No, you don't. You go to the beach. We know that works. Keith doesn't know it, but we know it. Yeah,
I've seen her in the bikini.
Yeah, but that's now there's a different one. That you're not thinking of. You're thinking.
I know.
You're thinking Two Doctors, and that's not the same one.
I know.
But yeah, you've seen the pictures on Google. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's just she it's almost like she comes more into her element, where she doesn't have to. That's one less thing for her character to rail against is the environment, and it's cold, and that weird zombie in the lake ate my lunch. And, just this one less. She's in the confines of a building now, so she's a little more in her comfort zone. Having listened to the Big Finish audio, and I've only got the one under my belt so far with Colin Baker and Evelyn. I've got one with Colin Baker and Peri and Nicole Bryant, and then one with his new companion Evelyn, and I'm in the middle of the third. I totally get Colin Baker now. I've seen a handful of Colin Baker episodes, and his Doctor has always come across as that abrasive, arrogant, know-it-all, I don't like you Doctor. And it's unfortunate, because I don't want to feel that way about the Doctor. I listened to the Big Finish audio, and all of a sudden it clicked, and it was like...
Everybody says that.
I
totally agree. I totally agree.
It's amazing.
It's what Colin could have done with the Doctor on television had they not tried to cancel the series and fired him. It's essentially at that point.
Yeah.
It's what the Doctor could have been. And I'll tell you what, they made a huge grave mistake by going that route. Now, it wasn't the production crew's fault. It was the big wigs that
Yeah.
were trying to get rid of it, or the one particular.
Well, and we've talked before that Colin kind of suffers. His era suffers from some poor writing, and I definitely think this is an example of it. Even though it's not a bad episode, there are elements.
The other
to it
thing
that
that you
don't
get
work
with the audios is you're not focused on that god awful hideous outfit. No, it really
honestly,
can be a distractor.
In this,
from everything.
I didn't pay attention to his
That's what
outfit.
I liked about the blue cloak. It really pulled all of it together. I thought it looked fantastic. Now, he doesn't have that through the whole thing. He has it for the first episode and a half because it takes him forever to get over the wall. But
We land so far away. Oh wait, I sound like Perry.
Honestly, as much as I talk about the Doctor's outfit, I notice it, but it doesn't distract me from the
after
story.
you've seen a few of the Sixth Doctor stories, it
In
really
general,
does
any
it.
Doctor, it doesn't distract me from the story.
But his does a better job of trying to distract you from the story. I have to say.
Well, you
that.
expect him to act like a clown.
Yeah. And he's the furthest thing from that.
Yeah.
This Doctor is not a clown.
No.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That Doctor has very clown-like tendencies early on. So.
Sure. Glenn, did you want to say anything else about Revelation?
I don't think so.
I kind of stole the show on that.
No,
one,
the reason being is because I think you've said most of what I probably would have reiterated on.
I
and
agree.
it really is just it's disjointed and there's no common theme, but it ends with a bang and you finally enjoy where they get to. It's just you don't the ride is
the
very
journey
stoic.
is
It was a long and winding road to get there. And then there was
what was the trudging? Was that what you used?
Slogging.
Slogging.
You gotta
slog
slog through
this episode.
and not enough awesome to get to the through the slogging.
Slogging.
And then we get to the end.
Is this one the introduction of the cream Daleks?
Yes.
I don't like the cream Daleks.
Yeah, because all of the Davros Daleks are, I'm gonna say it again, Daleks.
I don't like the cream Daleks.
They're all cream. And we get to the end, and the real Daleks show up, and there's going to be this massive showdown, and you're just like, okay, here it comes, right? And I'm waiting. They're going to exterminate him, and it's going to be over with, and we're going to kill him. And they lock him up and take him away, and it's like, what?
That there's formula for another Davros adventure.
The Daleks are all about kill.
Yeah.
That's their number one prime directive.
I think what they were going to do was take him back to Skaro and try him for his crimes.
Well, didn't
That was
they,
exactly the plan.
they made reference to that, didn't they?
Did they? I don't remember them. Was it?
They actually come out and say, we're taking you back to Skaro to put you on trial for crimes against the Daleks.
Then I totally excuse the Eighth Doctor. Well, yeah, the movie for starting off with, they took the Master to Skaro and tried him for his crimes. I mean, come on.
I didn't think they took him.
I don't
to
have a
Skaro,
problem with it
but
because that doesn't set a precedent. It was set in Revelation.
So
I totally missed that.
You think maybe it was the Daleks that caught the Master?
Ooh.
That's what I believe.
They
I always believed
because they didn't have the rights to say it in the Eighth Doctor movie. It just said he was put on trial on Skaro.
Yes,
that's the limit of
right.
the extent.
No, and I always assumed that it was the Daleks that caught him, and it was for whatever atrocities he had done to the Daleks himself.
I never.
Yeah, no,
I was so hung up on the what.
No,
because I can't imagine there's a big judicial system on Skaro.
No, that's what that was the absurdity. That was the absurdity of that.
I think I know the
when they said that, I was the same way. But now this almost qualifies that. Well, the Daleks at some point decided to become a little judicial because they went back to put Davros on trial.
I don't think that's Dalek nature, though.
Do they have trial by jury? I mean, do you get a jury of your peers? If you go on trial, I mean, are there 12 Daleks sitting in a line? Oh, that's 12 angry Daleks.
It'll be one short film.
Can you imagine sitting in the witness box on trial on Skaro in a whole courtroom with a Dalek judge with a wig and a Dalek box, and they're all sitting there looking at you? And there's a Dalek attorney who's trying to goad you into saying something, and you're like, where do you go with that? I don't. But yeah, they did say that. So it's I don't
okay,
know.
I missed that too.
It
But
almost
Stinky comes back and cuts his hand off. That was cool.
it almost seemed like an excuse to not kill Davros.
It very much felt
Oh,
like
I
an
think
excuse not to
that's
kill
what
Davros.
it was. It was like Destiny. It was somebody saying, "We're going to put this character on hold so that we're going to put him in deep freeze so that we can use thaw him out and use him again later.
Yeah.
We're going to put this guy in captivity again." So, I mean, that's why I say Revelation is really the only one that you just think definitively he's gone, he's dead,
Well,
Resurrection.
or Resurrection. Yeah.
Remembrance.
Remembrance is another. Well, we'll get there, but is another escape hatch.
He
one.
escapes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
True.
that's the other thing I didn't
The
like
thing.
about this
Remember
episode.
the thing closes, bit backs up,
And the
drops,
Daleks
and the
even
Daleks say
he's even saying Emperor leaving the bridge, Emperor in the escape pod, Emperor's left the
Yeah.
ship.
Yeah.
Boom. That's the other thing I didn't like about this. When they finally come face to face, and the Davros reveals that the whole thing. We got the Doctor lured in to come here, and we built the fake tombstone for it to fall on him, and filled it with blood, just to
Freak him out.
freak him out. All of this was according to plan. It's like, really? You have been in the freeze for too long. Your brain is mush at this point if you came up with that plan. But then he gets to and the Doctor asks the question that we're all dying to know. I thought you were dead. How did you survive? And Davros gives a fantastic answer. I am a hard man to kill. And it's like, ooh, that's a good Davros line. I'm exceptionally hard to kill is actually what he says.
exception hard to kill.
But then he says,
If he had stopped there,
if it had stopped there, I'd have been okay with it. But he goes on to brag, especially when there's an escape hatch nearby, or an escape pod.
yeah, a Mavellan
I don't
virus.
worry about the escape pod. I worry about the fact you had shaving cream
A
coming out your
Mavellan
nose.
virus was unleashed, and you reacted to it, adversely reacted to it, and then suddenly,
And stopped.
Yeah.
And we're, for all
and then
accounts,
you waited
done.
for everybody to leave the room, and then you went, "I fooled you," and ran to the scurried, rolled to the escape pod.
That's the part that's
yeah.
like,
It just
and especially knowing that he wrote that one. He should have known better. Do you forget that that's how you ended it?
well, that's why when you just see the head in the jar thing, it makes sense. It's like, okay, well, this plays right off of that. I mean, obviously the only thing that survived was his head, but then the reveal later that I'd forgotten it was a puppet. I remember him rolling around later in his body, but I forgot that he comes out and that was the big reveal.
They come in and they blast the crap out of that chamber with everything. The assassin and Shockeye 1.0 come out with all like wham, and they're all and lightning's shooting out of his head, and it's all cool, and then and it just deflates, and they're standing there for a moment like, that was too easy. And he even says, no, that was too easy. And then, and there he is in the chair. And it was
Decoy
cool.
Davros.
And he shot lightning out of his fingers. And that was cool. And then he started to talk. And it wasn't so cool. Meanwhile, on the list of top upgrades that I would ever build into a gauntleted hand, Force Lightning.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Totally on that list. Keith, get us into the next one.
Remembrance of the Daleks. London, 1963. With his new companion Ace, the Doctor returns to Coal Hill School, where he has unfinished business. His oldest foes, the Daleks, are on the trail of the Time Lord technology.
I think so. When him and Mel pick her up. Sorry, we're interrupting.
You're
We're having a
interrupting.
conversation. He's pantomiming. I'm actually just interrupting. Sorry, go ahead.
I was trying to be respectful and not have the conversation with.
It's
actually
still
speak.
distracting.
It's terribly distracting. I'm sorry. Please go back and.
Sorry.
Are you fishing?
I wish you could see this at home. I'm sorry. Continue, Keith.
Are on the trail of the Time Lord technology, an artifact the Doctor left behind on Earth. Enlisting the assistance of a local military, the Doctor must protect the Gallifreyan secret of time travel as two opposing Dalek factions meet an explosive confrontation with the entire universe at stake.
Dun 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 dun. Done.
It's a good one.
It's pretty good.
It's definitely the best of the McCoy era. Definitely the best of the McCoy era.
I don't know, something... Maybe I need to watch it a second time.
You like Delta and the Bannerman better, Keith.
Honestly, I did like this better than Delta. I like Survival a little bit better.
Than this?
A little.
Oh, my.
I don't know.
Survival's not a bad story.
Something.
No, it's not. But this is mounds above, is my opinion. Mounds above.
There's
I mean,
something
I agree.
about this that doesn't
I
make
agree
sense
with
for
you, but-
Davros. Something about this doesn't make sense for Davros, and I can't put my finger on it. Why would he masquerade as the Emperor Dalek?
I don't think he's masquerading.
Well, it
I
makes
think he took over.
Yeah.
He proclaimed himself emperor of the cream-colored of his Daleks.
Keep saying cream colored. They were just white. There was no cream.
They were kind of.
They were a little yellowish white.
They were a little yellowish, off-white. Compared to the white Dalek that we've had.
Well, that's true.
I mean,
we didn't have
they're
a
not
white
white.
Dalek,
But
Which I still don't like the white Daleks. This one really solidified that I don't. I just don't like the design of the white Daleks.
it's the exact same design. Well, other than the innards, which apparently he's grafted on mechanics and claw protrusions now.
That's the other thing is he's mutated this breed of Daleks more. He's
Yeah.
obviously furthered his mutations.
Which is what he went to Skaro to
Right.
set trial for.
Exactly,
Unnecessarily,
yeah.
I thought.
Well, I don't know.
I mean,
I
yeah,
get the
it
impression
attacks somebody, but okay.
Well, I think that they don't really explore this, but having the claw-like hand that can defend itself now seems like a design improvement upon the little blobs that roll around and can't do much. You know, once they're out of their casing, are very vulnerable. So, I mean, they still obviously attack. We saw it in Revelation of the Daleks, but they're not as effective as if you've got this big giant
No, we
claw.
saw
They
it
can
in Resurrection.
Yes, sorry. Resurrection of the Daleks.
And they mimic cats well.
They do mimic cats well. But, you know,
Who knew
so
they could shapeshift?
he's such a megalomaniac, and he's such this, you know, the Daleks are his creation. I wouldn't put him past him to continue further experiment. I mean, he's experimenting on the humanoids, even though we're, you know, melting several of them down for food, but he's experimenting on humanoids in the other one, just based on he's got to be doing something in order to...
I do like Remembrance much better than Revelation of the Daleks.
Yes. Oh, well, this is the best. To me, this is the best one since Genesis.
This felt
I think
more...
you disagree. I think you like Destiny slightly better.
I honestly like Destiny and Remembrance better than this one.
This is Remembrance.
You mean
Resurrection.
Why do we keep stumbling over that one? It's the hard one to remember. Resurrection shouldn't be, but that, for whatever reason, whenever I go back to think of them, I always attribute Revelation is the title of Resurrection.
Yeah.
I forget the name of the Colin Maker one, and then I go on to Remembrance. I don't know why.
There are two great Davros episodes or stories. One is Genesis and one is Remembrance, and they bookend each other. Now, for now.
Until New Who.
Yeah, for now. But
Until they
in classic
bring him
Who,
back.
in classic Who, there
Again.
is, yeah.
See,
Yeah, but it's so appropriate they bring him back now because this is the one time where we literally see him escape. We've always heard about escape hatches
Yeah.
or plans to get out. This time we actually see it happen.
Yeah.
And they make it a point to show us
I think
it happened on
I
screen
think for
this time.
me, why this feels like less of a Davros episode is because it takes so long to reveal
It does,
that it's Davros
that's
behind
the
it.
beauty of it, and I love the ruse of the little girl because for the
That was
longest
a fantastic
time,
reveal.
especially going in knowing that this is a Davros story.
Yeah.
and you see the person sitting with the little eye stalk
And it
thing,
sounds
and
like Davros.
It sounds like
and they're
Davros.
in a chair, and they've got
Yes,
their back to him. And you cued into it immediately. You bit hook, line, and sinker.
Oh,
And
yeah, I
could
totally
not have
believed.
been happier.
Yes,
I was
absolutely.
like,
Yeah,
as soon as she
absolutely.
showed up, I looked at you, and you were like, and I was like, yeah, got him. I did. I was
had
was
that
watching
nod.
you as
I
much as I was
knew.
watching this.
I had no doubt at that point that was Davros. Why he had a weird helmet on, I don't know. Maybe he needed it to do whatever with the computer. One of his hands doesn't work. He can't do everything with one hand.
He left his head in the jar. Oh, wait, it was a puppet. Okay.
And for me, I've gone on record of not being impressed with Ace. This one, she's shown a bit more. I still don't like the fact that she calls the Doctor Professor. That's going to bug me, I
What
think.
else did you... Oh, Survival Headaches, yeah.
Yeah. That's the only other one I've seen of Ace.
Yeah.
And I wasn't that impressed with her in that. But this one, I was much more impressed with. I like the electric bat idea and her defending herself with a bat against
Unfortunately,
Daleks.
this is what we were talking about because, and I have seen Dragonfire in the last year, and I believe when Mel and the Doctor pick her up on that planet in Dragonfire, she's got the bat at that point. She's carrying it around. I don't remember her using it, but I remember
Yeah, she's got it with her.
I remember her
I
having
do remember that.
So it's obvious that the Doctor has made some upgrades to the electrified bat or to the bat.
Well, he puts it in the casket of the Hand of Omega.
Right, exactly.
That's what
so
does
it's
the,
obvious that he's made the improvements and made it electrified at that point. So
Yeah.
it becomes a more than a bat at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Which there were some aspects of Ace, and especially in the first episode of this story, that I found obnoxious. Like, okay, we're landing in 1963. I'm going to bring my boombox. Really? Do you not know your own history?
and the Doctor sort of indulges her. I mean, that's,
Yeah. The Doctor
that's the
doesn't
weird
say,
thing.
"No,
Although
don't
later
bring
then is
that."
relieved that it's destroyed because
Yeah.
the microchip technology would have advanced
I think
too
he
soon.
was relieved that it was destroyed, not because it would have resulted in the microchip revolution.
Mostly
I think he
because
was
of-
relieved because he didn't have to listen to it in the console room.
Oh yeah, you take that with you. I know where we're headed.
He fully planned on leaving it and running it over with a truck when she wasn't looking.
But she has some great scenes fighting the Daleks, and that made me grow to like her a little bit more.
But just a little.
Just a little.
I'm disappointed, actually.
I think I need. This is my second.
It's only 2 for you for Ace.
It's only 2 for Ace.
Well, and only 3 total for Pertwee. Or for McCoy.
Yeah. Well, technically 4. If you count the movie.
4 if you count the You are correct.
I would count the movie.
You
yes.
are correct.
He's
It's Fester McCoy.
he's
4
in a good-
episodes. You are right.
30 minutes of that film.
So does that count as a multi-dark story? No.
No, because
No,
it's
because
a
they don't.
regeneration. Yeah.
They don't. They don't share.
They
the
don't
same.
interact.
But
For the same reason you wouldn't call End of Time Part 2 a multi-Doctor story,
or Journey's End.
or Legopolis,
Or Robot.
or Robot. Yeah. Well, let's just run the gamut. 10th Planet, War Games. Although we don't see both Doctors in that one. Robot, or for that matter, Planet of the Spiders, because
Yeah.
we see the regeneration at the beginning of that one. So
But I don't know. Just this seems like such a weak idea for Davros. I mean, considering what has come before, this is Davros' latest idea? Really?
well, the Daleks have harnessed the power of time travel to an extent. Davros feels necessary that he needs that for his Daleks as well.
Yeah.
And
And so they're going after the...
I get the impression that the actual Daleks, though, I mean, they have time travel capability. But I get the impression they're after it for another reason. One is to keep it away from the renegade ones, but also because of what power it might hold, being a Time Lord relic or Time Lord device. Artifact,
Which, how refreshing is it that it's not of Rassilon?
it is Omega this time.
Yeah. Omega.
Yeah.
Omega.
That's the one thing. That's the thing about I like about one thing. This is the thing I like about this episode is this is a fan wank episode.
Oh, very
This
much.
is
Oh.
this opened
There's
on
a lot
the
of it.
25th season of Doctor Who, and so this was a conscious attempt to go back and tie it into Unearthly Child.
Oh, which all of that was fantastic.
Yeah, and it's fun.
The fact that they were in that school.
Despite
and-
the fact that Foreman is spelled wrong on the gate and the Coal Hill school seems to be pretty much must be a weekend or something, because it's pretty deserted. I mean, there's not a lot going on there.
Yeah.
And Ian and Barbara clearly were just a month ago there teaching.
Yeah.
Susan attending school, but yeah, all of the little
and we know,
tie-ins-
and it has to be a weekend because we know it's set in November.
Yeah, exactly. And then also the I think that that's, even though they don't go as far to say it, I think that the idea that's presented here is that this group of military are the precursor to UNIT. This is essentially what
this is what
became
totally feels like UNIT.
Yeah,
and until the reveal that the one love interest for Ace is actually working for the Daleks, it totally felt like his faction that he was working for was almost Torchwood. Before Torchwood even existed.
He has a bit of a Captain Jack feel about him,
Yeah, I
doesn't
think
he?
so.
Well, I didn't catch that until just now.
Until it's revealed, I was like, oh, well, he's like a double agent working in UNIT for Torchwood. Because, of course, in my mind...
you realize it doesn't work. Just because you saw Torchwood
I know.
before you saw
I
this
know.
episode,
That's
but
the
there was
thing.
no way that could
I know.
was pre-planned. Now, that would have been awesome if it would.
That would have been
This
awesome.
goes back to
If
Phil
they-
when he said you can't really read content.
But,
back
but
the other
watching
direction.
it, in my mind, I did that.
If he had worked for this Ratcliffe and Ratcliffe had made reference to it's a shadow organization and we're just keeping tabs on things, I'd have totally bought into that. Oh my God, that was the genesis of Torchwood. We saw it here. Russell T Davies picked up the ball and ran with it. But unfortunately, that's not what
it
happened.
didn't.
But I love the fact that your mind works that way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'd make any connections I can.
That must be when you sit there with this face. That must be what you're doing. Is you're rewriting the retcon history of how to get from A to B and going, or in this case B to A.
You
and
should
going,
you should
"That
write
works."
for one of the continuity guides. They'd love you. They'd go, wow, he just tied this into this. We're going year by year here, but wow, this guy's got 30 years of who he just tied in together in one stroke.
Keith's discontinuity guy.
Discontinuity guy.
Well, and
But you're
There
right.
actually is a book called The Discontinuity
Yeah, there is.
Guide. Yeah.
It totally feels like UNIT before UNIT existed.
Yes, and I think that is the implication there. that they're trying to
I
make.
throw this up as my Exhibit A for any military and who has got to be unit because I just automatically assume this was unit. As soon as they stepped in and it's group captain, not brigadier, and he's got a scientific advisor, it's like,
Well,
unit.
and the fact
Yeah,
that
this is the situation where I did the same thing. I said, well, this is unit, but
the fact that the
They're just not
doctor
calling
name
UNIT
drops brigadier.
he says he calls him
Yeah.
brigadier.
Yeah, which is kind of at this point a little stab in the chest of he's
A little bit,
gone.
Been a while.
It is. It's just one of those things. That was
It's
like,
just
aw.
any reminder is it's so sad.
It's going to be tough to go back and watch another Brig episode.
Well, we already have.
We have, but it's every one from this point forward is going to be tough.
It's going to be even
I'm
though
the
we have
I'm
it.
the heartless one. I'm kind of over it now. I mean, it's nice to I don't anymore because now I'm like, hey, look, it's the brig, and I get to remember him fondly. And
Well, I had
Whole
that
different
too, and then it's also he doesn't get to show up with Matt Smith.
anyway, the thing that I get lost. I've seen this episode or this story more than any Sylvester McCoy story I've ever watched, and
Rightly so.
more than a lot of Doctor Who stories that I've seen. However, as many times as I have watched this, I've still never connected the dots as to why the Doctor was.
Landed here.
Well, I know why he was landed here. He was hiding the Hand of Omega. Hand of Omega.
Yeah.
But they almost make it sound like he was hiding it there from the Daleks. Was he just hiding it there?
I got the impression he was just hiding it there in general.
And the Daleks
they
just
happened to land there.
stumble across
And the
it.
Daleks stumbled across it.
Now, see, I got the impression that the Daleks were specifically looking for it.
Well, that's possible.
And I got the impression that he hid it there. But that doesn't work within the continuity because the Doctor doesn't know what the Daleks are
He's hiding the Hand of Omega from the Daleks.
before
and
he
then
even knows
leaves
what
to
the
go
Daleks.
meet the Daleks.
Yeah, exactly. So that always never
Well-
jived well with me.
For me, it was just it's this assumedly massive power. He's just hiding it in general.
I think one of the other things that
That's the
bothers
impression
me,
I got.
One of the other things that bothers me, and that could be true, and that fixes that. One of the things that bothers me is the fact that he says I lost that one because I was thinking ahead of another one. But well, I'll skip to that one and maybe I can come back to this one. The one where now, clearly, rule number 1 is the Doctor lies.
Yeah.
But when he introduces himself to the Daleks and he's brandishing his reputation and he calls himself Lord President of Gallifrey. Elect.
President-elect.
He does say President-elect of Gallifrey. He's not.
No, he isn't.
He is not anymore. He's actually stripped of that title during Trial of the Time Lord, which we'll get there eventually. So that always rubbed me wrong because it was almost like somebody didn't do their homework when they set this up. Now...
Or maybe the
it
Daleks
can be
just
retconned now because we do know that the Doctor lies, and you can easily say, "Well, he's just lying there. He's trying to."
The Daleks don't know
make
he's
himself.
not.
But what's
no
it matter?
longer.
It's the Daleks. They don't care whether you're Lord President of the universe. I mean, they're still going to kill you. So
I think maybe he would have thought that one was a little too big to pull off.
Well, yeah.
Lord
Maybe.
President of the universe.
Lord President of the universe.
The psychic,
Gap.
psychic paper would have shorted out in
That
that
way,
one. Yeah.
But now here's the thing, though. In the presidential history of the Doctor, he's president-elect at the end of Deadly Assassin.
No, he's not. He is.
Oh,
he was not
right.
elected. He was proclaimed.
Proclaimed.
He was run. Well, he was not
He
elected.
ran
He is a
unopposed,
candidate.
basically.
He
Yeah.
is a candidate,
He's a-
and he is essentially the only available candidate. So he runs on. Yeah, it's
And so technically, at the beginning of Invasion of Time, when he comes back, he is president-elect.
elect because then at that point he has to be recognized that and steps into the
And then he's sworn in.
right.
And he technically maintains his presidency up till the Five Doctors.
Correct.
Even though Barusa is president, when he comes in at Five Doctors, he's president, substitute president, whatever.
Right.
Barusa. And then Barusa's
They
dispatched
get
up.
around that and explain that in some way that
And she comes back and says, "You've ignored your responsibilities for too long. It's
Yes.
time for you to come do this."
Yes.
And he leaves again. Now, in my mind, even if they strip him of his title in Trial of a Time Lord, which happens at the end of Colin Baker's era, he would still be president at that point. He shouldn't be president-elect. So even unless...
yes, no, the elect, and I had forgotten that he said a president-elect in there.
But
as
he
well,
did. He said
Yeah, he did
president-elect. So unless Time Lord politics allow
well,
for...
clearly you can.
I mean, because it's an alien race,
Fudge
you can say
that,
whatever you
right,
want.
yeah.
If in the stripping of the title means you're not president anymore, but because you were president, you still get to hold the elect title. Like presidents who are not president anymore still get to be called president.
Well, but I think if you were impeached or removed from office, you're no longer president.
One would assume that means it's a mark of shame now, and then you don't get it.
Right. So I don't know. Anyway, so that's always bothered me, and
It's nitpicky,
I can't
though.
get back to the
Oh,
second
yeah.
the second one that I had an issue with that I think just didn't work within the continuity of.
Well, he mentions to.
Oh,
Ace-
I know what it is. I know
Okay,
what
go
it is.
ahead.
I know what it is. I'm sorry. He also says that line to Ace, and maybe this is where you're going. He says that line when he talked about how Omega and Rassilon. Well, he's talking about how Omega, and Rassilon. He drops.
He
both
almost
names.
hints the fact
that he was there as well.
Yeah.
And I've
Or
always
was
hated that
Rassilon.
because, or maybe
Rassilon.
was Rassilon. Yeah, no, that
I-
doesn't that totally doesn't work. Although I think I've seen that theory
I
out there.
almost got that.
But this is the only time that they mention the he mentions it in sequence that everybody launched into the fact that, I mean, there's this huge movement out there of people that believe that the Doctor was there with Omega and Rassilon at the time that they were harnessing the power of the black holes and the stars and creating or harnessing time travel, not creating time travel, but obviously harnessing time travel to be utilized in such a way that it is now. There is no evidence other than the Doctor simply slipping up and saying that anywhere in other Who. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I most often am, and it just may be in my limited knowledge of Doctor Who. It may just be in my limited knowledge of Doctor Who that I don't know of any other reference to the fact that he could possibly have been there. But it doesn't make sense that you would have somebody, such a history of somebody, being under Barusa at the Academy, being young, looking into the Intemperate Schism, having all of this history of being a young person, having an admiration of Rassilon, not knowing being in the death zone,
Death Zone.
being in the death zone, knowing about the games of Rassilon, but if you really were Rassilon or were there at the time that Rassilon was around, you would know more about what's going on there and be able to get around these games easier than having to figure them out as you're going.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, and I don't like the fact that they play fast and loose with that one line, because it opens up all of this broad speculation that I think. And it's just my own opinion. I mean, it's
What if
fine
he's
that people
Rassilon's son?
I still think at some
The son
point,
of Rassilon.
I still think at some point we would have gotten
Or
more
grandson.
hints, or somebody would have tried to done something more with it. And why did we drop it there? We haven't done anything since. So,
Well, I can fix some of that for you.
I mean, I already know he's not Rassilon. It's
John Pertwee in The Three Doctors, talking to Omega, references the fact that this was so long ago he read about him at the Academy but had never met him.
exactly, and then that was one of those.
So that's one of the okay. Ben Aronovich,
Aaron Brockovich?
Ben Aronovich, who wrote this
Wrote that,
episode,
yes.
and is responsible for a large number of the better Sylvester McCoy
Yes,
stories,
yes.
was one of the ones that was very much interested in trying to take Sylvester McCoy's Doctor on a darker path,
Yes.
and tone things down from the comedic clown
Right.
antics that we got early on in Delta and the Batterman and some of the other things.
Right.
And he tried to insinuate a little bit of backstory into his things with McCoy, and this would have continued had the show gone on. It would have got even more dark. But one of the things that he had hinted at, and I read about this in an interview, is he said, "What if the Doctor is Rassilon?" And I think people kind of took that out of
Okay.
context and immediately pounced on every hint that he'd ever dropped
Okay.
and ran with it. But it does bring up an interesting thing. Because the Doctor lies, which is role one.
Yeah, but again,
You-
that's
you-
not been expounded on until recently.
Well,
now
it
we
hasn't
can
been
look, we
either.
can look
We-
back
we
and
can backward retcon.
a lot of
Retcon,
those
yeah.
things that he does that as just lies.
If you look at it from the standpoint that he's lied, if you will, about his age, he's never really sure how old he is,
yes,
because
right.
that changes. It's not until the new series that they've kind of pinned that down.
Well,
and-
because
and
I think
gone a little more.
the last time I think it's the Sixth Doctor says he's like 953, and then later Sylvester McCoy says he's 900. So
And one of the early, I think it was Pertwee made reference to being thousands of
thousands,
years old.
millennia, or after being
And,
around
it's
millennia.
just- it never being really sure how old he is. Okay, that could play into it. If you had been around that long, it becomes a meaningless number, and anytime anybody asks you, just pick one and throw it out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it really doesn't matter.
But that doesn't fix the fact that
it
that
could also
he
mean-
says in the Three Doctors that one, and then we see the ghost of Rassilon, essentially the ghost of Rassilon. We see the ghost of
We
Rassilon
do see
in
the
the
ghost of
tower at the and he recognizes that that's where Rassilon's tomb is. That Rassilon is buried there.
But it could also mean, and I'm not sure that I believe in it. I'm just throwing the what if out
You're
there.
playing devil's advocate for that
I'm totally
Yes.
playing devil's
People
advocate
that
out there. I'm throwing out the what if. Rassilon, and the Doctor does make this reference in the Five Doctors, that Rassilon knew the curse of immortality, that he knew it was a curse and not a blessing. What if Rassilon was immortal? What if he could live forever?
I can't speculate.
Not yeah. Well, I mean, not just as an astral projection in the tomb, but what if he really, really, really could do this? Wouldn't you get bored? What if one of the side effects of immortality is you do get amnesia from time to time? You get a little Swiss cheese, and so he's living his lives as the Doctor, going through all this, not necessarily knowing that he is Rassilon because of whatever immortality process.
And because we have multi-Doctor stories, you could also have multi-Doctor stories within him being Rassilon.
You could.
Okay.
I mean, they're just
That-
he could be looking at a projection
I
of a
understand
former
the-
regeneration of himself as Rassilon, but not recognizing
Okay,
it.
then I can understand the basis of that theory. Then.
I mean,
okay.
there's a flat Earth society. People will believe what they want to believe.
well, we're obviously going to revisit this as well.
Oh, definitely. But I'm not saying that he is or isn't. I like the
And those
idea. I like the hint dropping
Yeah.
that he could be.
Yeah.
Because that was. I'm gonna go off track for just a minute. Anybody watch Highlander?
Yeah,
with
occasionally,
Adrian Paul.
not always.
Occasionally.
Okay, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I enjoyed the show when I watched it. Mythos, his friend Mythos, who was also an immortal, who had kind of taken himself off grid because he's like, I've been doing this for so long, I don't want to do it.
Right.
Many seasons later, they revealed that Mythos was one of the Four Horsemen. And all of a sudden it was like,
Spoilers.
whoa, really? I mean, because it's a good thing that you're friends with this guy, because you'd never beat him. There's no way. He was death or war, one of the two of them. I mean, it was like, wow, that's cool. It's that kind of name drop hint that I really appreciate with Sylvester McCoy's Doctor, when they play with it a little bit and kind of hint that maybe he is a lot older than what he's been letting on. Maybe he is. I mean, how
It certainly adds to the mystery and builds on the character.
well, and it ties into the plot as well, because how else do you get the hand of Rassilon off Gallifrey? Not only did you steal the TARDIS, but you stole that too. I mean, he didn't just stumble across that.
Right.
He spirited it away. He knew something was up, and he had to get it off there. And I love the fact, which we didn't, I had never tied this in as strongly with Unearthly Child until Friday. I mean, obviously the hints are there, Cold School, and all that kind of stuff. But the fact that he was it Mavic that tweeted it, who said when he's talking to the blind preacher, and he's like, well, the grave's been ready for a month, and he's like, well, I had to leave suddenly. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow, you're talking about that night.
Right.
This is not just I mean, that was kind of over my head until that point. So I firmly believe that William Hartnell's Doctor had this device, and he was just going to hide it on Earth where it'd be safe.
But so you don't get the impression that...
I don't get the impression he was hiding it from the Daleks at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think it was until much, much later that Sylvester McCoy's
Well, it was
Doctor...
until he decides to bury it. That
he's going to bury it, and that's how he's
not
doing.
Really hiding it.
Well, but this is the other thing that could or could not have happened. Is let's say, for the sake of argument, William Hartnell's Doctor is just going to hide it on Earth. What are you going to do? I'm going to bury it. I'm going to put a nondescript grave marker on it and call it good. Okay, fine. And then he gets yanked, and we go off on the whole adventure and starting that. And he gets busy and never really gets back to it. And then Sylvester McCoy's Doctor begins hearing rumors through the grapevine of the Daleks hunting for this weapon, and he chooses to come back.
I guess because then he realizes at that point that, that makes sense.
I never took care of that.
That makes sense.
So then he goes back to Earth, and they land, and they have their little bit. And then he's got that
But
scene...
they are already there.
But they're already there.
Yeah.
And he's got that scene in the diner where he's ordering the tea and having the conversation with...
Jeffrey
from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And he has that conversation, and then he goes and meets up with the guy in the morning and looks at the coffin and does whatever he does with it.
Right.
It's very likely the Doctor did not sleep at all that night and spent that time preparing a very definitive, here it is, gravestone marker, as opposed to the nondescript one he was originally going to use.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tinkering with it so that he knew what it would do, doing the bat trick, and then setting everything in motion and says back. Because then he tells us,
because at that point,
rewired it to do this.
The gravestone says, essentially, Hand of Omega here.
Yeah. It's a big neon arrow pointing to this.
So, yeah.
But
they don't do any... They pay, no bones about it. He was leading them to it so that he, the plan would go through.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think he enacted that plan until this episode.
Okay. And
because it does unravel if William Hartnell's Doctor is there hiding it on
planning
Earth
that,
from the Daleks. Then all of a sudden the whole thing unravels and it doesn't work.
Okay.
And
That works
I don't
for
think
me,
you can even say wibbly wobbly timey wimey to work
No.
around that. I think it just falls apart.
That plays fast and loose with wibbly wobbly timey.
So that's my rationale.
I like that.
For
that works really
that
well
fits.
for me. That works really well. And the comments about you were always described to me as an older man with white hair.
Yeah.
It's just,
oh yeah. There's so many
your
references
voice
to
has
the
changed.
voice has changed.
Yeah, those things like that are really cool. So it was nice to play back to that first episode, and you really get a lot more out of it.
This one, to me, honestly, feels very much more like a 25th anniversary tribute than Silver Nemesis.
Nemesis did.
I'm so disappointed with Silver Nemesis, but we'll get to that when we get there.
Yeah.
I'm going to warn you in advance. I'm sorry. It is a Cyberman story. I didn't like it.
And can I incorrectly say that the Brigadier was in Silver Nemesis? Because he was not. Battlefield. You remember back in the day we were talking about, and I kept saying Silver Nemesis was one of my favorite Brig stories. It wasn't until months later that I went, it was Battlefield, not Silver Nemesis.
I couldn't remember, though, if he showed up in Silver Nemesis.
He did not at all.
Even as,
I believe there's another unit officer in that. But
I think you're right.
It's not the Brig.
Not
the Brig was in Battlefield. So.
Yeah. But what else did you want to say about it? We
I think that's
interrupted.
about it.
That's about it. Just that you thought it was okay and not so much.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm going to go off unless you have more.
No,
things
go right ahead.
Because I know how much you love Sylvester McCoy and just would like to talk for hours on end about him.
We're going to let this podcast go long because it is number 50, but we do need to rail ourselves in soon.
Okay. I like Ace in this story. I like Ace.
Ace is
immensely
really good in this story.
I like the fact that they take her spunky attitude and wind it up, turn it loose.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? We got Daleks. What do you got? A bat. Go nuts.
Well, and then she ends up. Well, you go for the ice dock. She figures that out on her own,
yeah.
which was great.
With a bazooka.
Yeah.
Hit it with an anti-tank rocket. I mean, I don't think it would have mattered if he didn't.
And she really fired that thing because it put a scorch on the wall behind her.
I love the athleticism. I love the, dodging over tables and crashing through windows and, all of that stuff is great. This episode has got...
She's Ian.
She is.
She really is.
She is the female version of Ian.
Man of action.
Man of action.
Woman of action.
Man.
I love the reveal. This has got two of the best cliffhangers
Yes.
in Doctor Who history.
Even the third, you said not so much the other night on the third cliffhanger. That is even a fantastic cliffhanger.
It's better than
in
some.
a different, but it's framed differently because this big ship comes down and he has miscommunicated. He said, "Well, they won't land anywhere near here," and they do, and the almost breaking the fourth wall
when he looks at the camera,
Yes.
which is a very Tom Baker thing.
Yes.
that they did a lot of.
That I liked about
in Invasion
that.
of
I thought that
Time
was
when he
neat.
looks at the
So,
camera and goes, "Even the sonic screwdriver won't me get out of this."
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
and then-
While
so-
different type of cliffhanger is still a very good and clever cliffhanger, I thought.
Yeah,
so
it
it's
is.
even good, and that's all three of the cliffhangers because your fourth story never has a cliffhanger. So.
True.
Well, unless it's the end of what was the one where the TARDIS is blowing up?
The one before Mind Robber.
Yeah, what was before that? Dominators.
Yeah.
Oh, we escaped the lava, and then we blew up.
Or for that matter, the end of Daleks. The Daleks. Because that's when we get
And
into Edge of
the
Destruction.
thing blows
Yeah,
up, and
exactly.
the console blows up. that
Right,
one. Yeah.
exactly. So we do have cliffhangers at the end of fourth episodes, or final episode.
Now, ruined on you because you've seen New Who.
Yeah.
When the thing came up the stairs,
Oh, yeah.
That was really cool.
whoa!
Okay, they got around that limitation.
And, and of
Which
course-
wasn't that a black Dalek?
no,
That was a white
it was
one.
a white
That's
one.
one of the ones.
It was one of the white ones coming from the transmat in the basement.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And of course we go run, and again I know it's a little comical, but the setup for that. What are you doing? Well, they always, I'm going to fix this. Bam, bam, and he just, messes up the thing. Well, then they're going to do that. Well, no, they always leave one on station. Or I materialized the top half on the bottom half, and they couldn't do this, so this. What happens now? Oh, well, we're going to have to rewire this a little bit, so it'll be offline for a little bit. Okay, and nobody's going to notice that? Oh, they'll come and fix it eventually, because they always leave one on station. You mean like another Dalek? Yeah. McCoy plays it perfectly, that fallible,
Yeah.
I didn't think of that. And here it comes rolling around the corner, and it's going to stop him. And then we have to run. And then, of course, he trips so that she can get out the door first. It's like, oh, really?
And that
Okay.
moment is very, I'm going to do this like you do, it's very Matt Smith. It's very, okay, I've gotten so into the moment of doing things that, I left that one detail out.
That one detail
Oops.
that all of a sudden...
Oh, I forgot about that.
That's going to come back to bite.
I remember watching this, and I had just gotten back into Who and had that experience with the opening credit sequence where I wasn't sure what show I was watching until the TARDIS showed up. I was like, oh, okay, it is Doctor Who. It sounds like Doctor Who, but I wasn't sure. There's my TARDIS. I'm okay. And, it was Revelation of the Daleks, or Remembrance of the Daleks. Oh, it's a Dalek story even. How exciting that I get to go. Okay. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know who she is. I don't care. Oh, there's Unit. And, stuff's happening. And he's down in the basement, and he trips, and he falls, and he's running up the stairs. I'm like, well, he got halfway up the stairs. As long as it doesn't blast him, he's safe. And then it took off and started. Top 5 moments of Doctor Who ever.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I'm tearing up, actually,
absolutely.
trying to talk about
I
this.
I totally agree.
It was such a... I mean... Because how many Dalek episodes are there in the history of Daleks?
Happy
how many?
25th anniversary.
Yeah.
We've added another thing.
Here's something else, and it cost us. I have no idea how much, but we did it, and it was like, oh my god. And that was at that moment. It was like, I don't care what you do with the rest of this episode. I really.
Daleks
How do you
fly.
top
Then
that?
they almost one up it by landing this huge, 2-scale ship.
Yeah.
In the middle of the schoolyard.
Yeah.
And it looks fantastic. I mean, it's just a shuttle, but it looks fantastic. And the transmat pads look great. They went so far as to use the LED lights. Back in, this is 1980.
Yeah.
What 9?
88.
88. And they're using LED lights to make this look very futuristic. And I mean, this is back when light-emitting diodes probably were just brand new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't have people weren't decorating their houses for Christmas with them, so these had to be expensive LED lights. And there was one other. Oh, the modifying the one Dalek for this particular story to be the
the tank Dalek.
what's it called?
Special weapons
Special weapons Dalek.
Let's talk about the
giving us
special
a
weapons
Dalek variant. That was awesome as well.
I wasn't a big fan of the Dalek variants.
What's wrong with you?
The Daleks
This thing rolls out. and
exterminates.
You were there. Keith's response
Unnecess-
is, "What is that?" It's like, that's the special weapons Dalek. That's for when you need to blow a really big hole in the wall. And it goes, whoom,
No.
and things just.
And then Sean and Minz is saying, "Well, did I say blow a big hole in the wall? No, when you really want to just blow the wall up."
when it's gone. There's nothing left of this thing. And I love the fact
If the Daleks are the superior race and the ultimate form of the universe, why do they need better versions of themselves?
They're not, and they continue to.
Notice what color it is.
White.
It is a Davros.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
they
Davros is thinking outside the box with this thing.
I think you've misunderstood the Daleks. I think they believe they're the superior race, but they also recognize that they have flaws and limitations, and they're always trying to overcome those things.
Which is why they're
Goes
not
back,
above plugging a child into.
No.
not
I guess
above
that's
using
true.
any
Motorcycle
robo
helmet.
men, not above using
Or
slaves
slavery,
or
or
other.
the guy with the-
utilizing
that's
people.
true.
So I don't think you can. I don't think you can use that as an excuse as to why they
doesn't
would
make
need to
sense.
improve upon themselves. In fact, I think if you're going to further the race, you create variants that do specialized things. And if you're so militaristic as the Daleks are, you start to make variants and set off, divisions that can tackle certain strategic situations.
This is the start of the Skittle Dalek.
This is the forerunner to the Skittle Daleks.
It somewhat is, yes, absolutely.
If
It
that makes you
somewhat
feel
is.
better about it, it is. I
a
love
little,
Special Weapons Dalek.
little, but
I love Special Weapons Dalek. That's the toy I want. I love
Isn't there
Ironside.
one? I think I saw somewhere that there is a special weapons toy. I believe so.
isn't there a Remembrance set?
I think that's right. Yeah,
Maybe it's in there.
I think
I
it's
didn't
in.
think about that.
I think that's what it
now I
is.
have to look out and see if it's probably expensive. I
I was
don't
going
care.
to buy it tonight.
Thanks, Keith. I love Special Weapons Dalek. I think it's so when that thing comes around the corner and they see it for the first time, they're like, I don't know what that does, but that's a big gun. Just, because the Daleks need that. Yes. I mean, it's so over the top. It's yes,
right.
yes. I can't be any more giddy about this damn thing. I really can't.
It is a bit more effective than the suction cup.
Oh yeah, who needs this when you've got this? And it's mounted
Well,
front and center.
It does. It has the one. It doesn't
Yeah,
even
It
have
doesn't. It doesn't even have a plunger.
It has no arm.
The other Daleks have the plunger and the ray gun, but
Yeah.
this particular
This just
one
has the cannon.
right
It's
in
a
the
big
middle.
old cannon, and it's a chest cannon. It's an Iron Man. Ah, look at that. The only two parts.
Who
Of,
needs arms?
the only two parts of this that fall down a little bit for me on the effects or design end. The special effect used for the Dalek Scrambler gun with the little rainbow glitter.
Well, there's rainbows all over this because the transmat.
The
beam,
transmat
they
had the
come
rainbow.
in and like
But that
a
was
rainbow.
cool looking.
The transmat beam was kind of cool because it took its time, and you saw the
It was the
the
rainbow
organic
bridge.
aspect of the Dalek before the mechanical aspect. Of
That
the
was
Dalek.
cool. I
like
the
that
rainbow was a
It
little.
was
little
very
much, but-
transporter.
Yes,
It really
yes.
was.
The way it materializes
Because-
within there. Yes.
You go back to original Star Trek and you watch, and there's always that little glitter of the right in the middle before the rest of the outline kind of
Yeah.
kicks in. And I always wrote that off as, there's a lot more stuff here. You got to materialize all those internal organs and put them in the right place. It's probably going to do that first before it bothers with the skin and everything.
Right,
That's important. So I liked the fact that the rainbow was like, there's the brain. That also, as soon as you see the interior outline, you don't need that. You were just like, oh, I think I know what that is. And then the shell kind of, and it's like, yeah, it is.
There's only one thing that could be a blob like that.
Yeah. But the rainbow confusing gun. I didn't like
or the disco gun.
The disco gun. That's a good name for it. I didn't like that, and I didn't like the time controller. After going through so much effort to make the
what do they call those spheres? They've got a name. I can't.
Are
remember.
they static spheres?
But no, they're named after the guy that must have invented that.
It's like a Tesla ball.
A Tesla ball. That's what it's called. It's a Tesla ball. Well, no, because the Tesla is the
Tesla has two of them.
Yeah,
usually,
Tesla is the two sides with the.
It
one.
looks like one gigantic.
I can't
Tesla
remember what
coil.
it's called. There is some name, and I think it's named after some guy. But that's exactly what it is. You just walk into Spencer's and see like 4 or 5 of them on the shelf. I mean.
And in different shapes.
And it would not have bothered me if it was the ball in a console with a Doctor Who
disguise
thing
it a
off to the
little
side.
bit more. Yeah,
whatever. They didn't even try.
No,
it was like
it
you
was
went
just,
through all this effort with.
They
the
went to
Transmat
Spencer's
and you did
Gifts and
this.
said, "There you
put
go."
some things on it because there were a couple of.
Oh, there wasn't. It was just.
It was circled with something.
Yeah,
there was
there was
a rim.
on
I
it.
thought it was just a ball.
There was
with
a
thing
rim
and
around
and a base.
it.
No, there was something on it.
It was like they were going to make an attempt to make it look.
Maybe they
like
ran out of budget
scientific
after
and
they
cool,
built the special weapons.
Maybe.
Because that's the other thing is they
and lifted the
burned through a
Dalek
lot
up
of
the stairs.
Yeah, well, they burned through a lot of Daleks in this too.
Yeah.
And I even tweeted out that it's funny that as shoddy as the Daleks looked, especially in Destiny of the Daleks, where we talked about there were only 4 of them and they had to keep repainting them, and that one's shipped and broken immediately just because it's been in storage. All of the ones since then have been. Where did you get all these Daleks? There are no cardboard cutouts here. There's a lot of
now
Daleks.
Rebuilt Daleks.
And you blew a lot of them up. So they must have figured out the process for how they can do it cheaper and more effectively. But did you notice how much shoddier the construction materials got with them? The eye stocks in particular with the quote-unquote real Daleks, it was just a holographic sticker stuck on the end. It didn't even look like, because back in the old days it kind of had that aperture that would open and close and do things. This was very obvious. Boop, that's all you get.
Right.
Just a hint of that the eyes open, and that. From
I think
that's
what they realized. They had to cut some corners in order to make
that's
numbers.
the best way to cut a corner.
They had to have. I could go on and on and on about Remembrance. This is one of my all-time favorite stories.
It's
I
in
love
my top 5.
Everything about this.
Which is ironic that there's a Sylvester McCoy in my top 5. But it's...
See, that's the other thing. I know that he's not your favorite. I know that he's, in fact, one up from the bottom of the list if you had to rank them. And I just don't understand it.
I've liked what I've seen of Sylvester.
He is a fantastic doctor.
It's 3 stories that I've seen, but he has been the shining point of almost all of them.
And that is what I think you have to give the man full props for that, even if it does fall down on the he suffered of poor writing. Okay, but that's not
he did for several episodes.
That's not his doctor's fault.
I like where the 7th Doctor was going, and when it feels like he gets comfortable in the shoes of the Doctor is when you feel like you get cut off, because it's that last run of that last season that I enjoy the most, and I actually think it's from Remembrance on, but it's. There are moments that I really, really enjoy the Doctor. Some of the things that he brought to the Doctor's role, I enjoyed. Some of the things that he brought to it, like rolling the R's, and some of the quips and things. I don't know. They don't set well with me. I mean, it's fine. He's still the Doctor, and I still enjoy it.
I think
I
it's
still
just because
recognize
he's
it.
Scottish.
I like
think that's the way
I like
that
the
plays
Doctor.
out.
Well, I think they do, but I like the Doctor. If the McCoy Doctor from this. Ghost Light, even though Ghost Light's not a great story, Ghost Light, Survival, and the movie. If I could just have that Doctor, the 7th Doctor, the entire time, I probably would have liked the 7th Doctor a lot better, because that's where he is the best. In the stories that I've seen, those are where he is the type of Doctor that I want him to be, and he is those and those. So if he could have been that all along, I think I would have enjoyed Sylvester McCoy. But we get so many stories peppered in there that it's just really the Cosmic Clown, and it doesn't work. Not the Cosmic Hobo, which Troughton pulled off, but he was that from beginning to end.
Yeah.
But just the
Well, and
Cosmic Clown.
I
doesn't
wonder
work.
if part of that too goes back to we feel like we really needed a bigger departure from Colin Baker.
I think that's what
because
they did,
they forced him into that grumpy, self-important kind of thing. Maybe they needed something to
they
lighten it
wanted
up.
to lighten out of that.
But
I would agree.
I agree that they swung the pendulum a little too far. But even Delta and the Bannerman, which is not a great story, I love Sylvester McCoy.
He's the best part of
He is
Delta
the
and the
best
Bannerman.
part of Delta and the Bannerman, and I think you will say that even about Happiness Patrol. Or
Actually, I think Ace is the best part of Happiness Patrol.
well, maybe Ace,
Yeah.
but or Greatest Show in the Galaxy,
Or Paradise Towers.
Paradise Towers.
Again, yeah. I think that's the one.
I'm not going to lie. There
That's
are
the
some
one story-
absolute stinkers
that's
in,
the one
in this
story
run,
that-
but he is always good.
That's the one story that is Mel's in Paradise Towers.
Yes.
Okay. I think
'Cause
that's the
she's in
one
Time of
story
the
that I
Rani,
actually
Paradise Towers,
enjoy
and Dragonfire.
Mel in. It's the one story that I actually enjoy Mel in.
She's kind of one of the shortest lived.
She was only in 4 stories.
Yeah.
She was
Oh,
in,
wow, that's
she was
short.
in
The end of
whatever the last story of Trial of the Time Lord is.
Terror of the Ver. No, that's the first one.
That's the first.
I don't know that. Don't.
Okay, whatever
Not
the
yet.
last. The problem is Trial of Time Lord is Trial of Time Lord. Terror of the Vervoids, Trial of Time Lord. And they all have their subtitles. And I always think of them as just one big story, even though they're
It's like Key to Time. It's
Yeah,
hard
exactly.
to differentiate
one of
Armageddon
them
Factor
is Planet. One of them is Planet. That's still Peri.
from. Yeah.
Anyway, so
Planet of Fire. No, that's Davison. Never mind.
yeah, no.
Why are we speculating?
Anyway, yeah,
At
it doesn't
any rate.
matter. Anyway, but she's in the last of that. She's in Time of the Rani. She's in Paradise Towers, and then she's in Dragonfire. And
Dragonfire.
I believe that's it.
No, she's in Delta and the Bannerman.
Oh, that's right.
Or
She
Delta
was
and
in.
the
So she's in 5 stories then.
Yeah.
Yeah, Delta and the Bannerman.
I bet
We were
there's
just
another one
talking
he's
about
forgetting.
Mel and Delta and the Bannerman. Yeah. So she's in, but she did. She really had a short run as far as companions go.
Of course, now realistically, in Doctor Who terms, 5 seasons or 5 episodes, stories is a season.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, in
In
most
classic
cases,
Who,
That's
yeah.
true.
So,
But one of those was at the end of one season.
so a season and a half, a season and an episode, a
So
season and a story.
you know what? Dragonfire, when it was with her last episode, was the end of the season. So because
this is the
Remembrance
kickoff of the
starts
first,
off
yeah.
with the next season. Yeah. So she did run a season, which is longer than some of I think even Hartnell's companions.
Let's talk a little bit about Davros, since that's kind of what the whole archive's built on, and his appearance in this. Now
It's so lackluster.
well, it was, but you bit hard on the
I bit.
that's
yeah.
him, and then it
And it's
wasn't.
not.
And
And
then
I'm
the
like-
Emperor Dalek rolled out on this and
Did you suspect at that point?
No, I just suspected it was an Emperor Dalek. And then the reveal that the Emperor Dalek was Davros
It's
was
funny
very
because
cool.
I thought maybe going into this knowing this was a Davros
See,
story.
I completely expected the girl to be
I know,
Davros,
but,
and then
but that was my problem is going into it knowing you were going to have to look for Davros. I knew you'd be fooled by the first one. I thought once the Emperor rolled in, knowing this was a Davros story, and we'd gotten so far into this story without seeing Davros now officially, that you would have figured that out. Because my first time I saw this, I had no idea it was a Davros. I had no idea it was a Davros story. And so when I saw the controller, my first thought went to, I bet that's Davros. I bet that's who that is. Okay,
Yeah.
they're going to show, it's not Davros. So out of sight, out of mind to me. I was like, well, this isn't a Davros story then. So when the Emperor ends up being Davros, I was like, oh, okay, awesome. It was incredible. But coming from your perspective, I thought, he knows that Davros is in this because we're doing a Davros
I
archive.
honestly didn't. I was like, well,
Well, I'm glad the reveal still worked.
there's the Emperor. That's not Davros. Where is Davros?
You expected him to shoot the Emperor, and then Davros would come out from behind the curtain.
I honestly expected Davros.
I
don't
think
know.
you expected Davros to be with the other Daleks.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know why, considering that the Davros
'Cause that's how they
Daleks
set it up.
in Revelation were
White Daleks.
white Daleks.
Cream, as you guys call them. Cream Daleks.
I don't know why I expected the cream Daleks in this to be any different.
Well, and they pepper it with hints too. When they're talking about these 2 different factions and the Imperial Daleks, which I couldn't keep them straight either.
Well, they make you think that the gray and black Daleks are the
renegades.
rebels. Yeah, the renegades.
Which they're called renegade Daleks or rebel Daleks or something like
Yeah.
that. But and as I told Chrissy, well, that's
Davros called them.
Yeah,
because to him they are.
They are the offshoots, even though their point of view is you bred us with this whole purity of race business, and now you're grafting mutations onto these things. This is what we put you on trial for. You're the abomination here. So at some point between the end of Revelation of the Daleks, when they're escorting him off to trial, he either escaped or maybe he stood trial and splintered it at that point.
I hardly believe that.
I don't know. I
want to imagine
that's
that,
the story
I
want
want
to
imagine
told,
that
actually.
the faction of white cream Daleks that are in Remembrance break him out
before
somehow.
he stands trial.
Before he stands
I
trial.
agree.
Yeah.
That's
That's
the
my
story that I
impression,
would like
yeah.
to tell. Actually, I would love to
Somehow
find
he
out what
sets,
happens.
I think he sets up even the fact that he's their emperor before that, and so suddenly that becomes a noble move. They have to rescue their emperor.
Well, I think they would rescue him as their creator.
Well,
Regardless.
exactly.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
But then he proclaims himself
Self-emperor,
emperor,
yeah.
and kind of gives up on the human vestiges and encases himself in the tube and the whole bit, which it almost has a dark helmet thing going on. I know you're not making faces at me underneath that thing. With the big. I'm sure it's well lit. I'm sure there's all kinds of cool little things for him to play with inside the tube.
Which, and just his plot of, okay, I guess maybe looking back on it, it makes more sense that, okay, the White Daleks are after the Hand of Omega, and so are the Black Daleks, and Davros is behind the White Daleks. It makes more sense, but while watching it, it was just like, okay, why even bring Davros into this at all? This doesn't feel like a Davros plan.
It wasn't bringing Davros into it. Davros was the head of it. Now, I agree with it doesn't seem in Davros's M.O.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, I like the fact that they're evolving the character to the sense that, I mean, up until now, he's been a mad scientist that's manipulated genes in order to create this master race. Well, now I think he's at a point where he's obviously still manipulating the genetics of these Daleks because they've mutated to it.
Yeah.
The doctor points it out. But not only is he doing that, but he's also got to secure ways to keep this faction that he is now
Alive.
created, powerful, and to he's striving to do what he wanted to do from the beginning in Genesis of the Daleks. Now he's got to have backup plans and better powers and things like that. So it totally expands on his character from what we've seen before. But it's a necessary evolution of Davros. So I think it's why it works. For me.
I could see that now that you mention it, but while watching it, it doesn't feel like that.
I agree with you. It totally doesn't feel like a Davros episode. And if Davros wasn't in this at all, and then they wound up doing a Davros heavy episode later, and you find out that he was the one that was behind this pulling of the strings, that would have worked for me,
Might have worked better.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it might have-
it
might have-
would've.
it might have. It certainly would have helped evolving that character, broadening that. Other
Because I mean, in a lot of ways, and I've said this before,
would have been quick change turnaround.
Davros has always reminded me of Palpatine. He's always the guy behind the scenes pulling the strings
Puppeteering.
and doing the puppeteering, and isn't that fascinating? And this is kind of the first one where he's realized, maybe due to time and time again them turning on him, that being the creator of the Daleks isn't quite enough in your resume to eliminate that problem, that they could still turn on him. By setting himself up as emperor, all of a sudden he's eliminated that. Now he does have a little bit more of a hands-on, let's do this.
Yeah.
And then we get the destruction of Skaro.
Yeah, I think
And
that
I know you
also
had
left a
huge
sour,
problems with
yeah,
it.
left a sour taste in my mouth.
he had huge problems with it. You remember
He
I
had
brought
huge
it up and
problems
said
with it,
that
yeah.
ruins the continuity, but you sort of fixed that in the sense that we don't know when the Seventh Doctor then popped back to pick up the Master on Skaro that now exists still in the movie.
A little wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
Yeah.
What was your problem with it? I don't have a problem with them destroying Skaro.
My problem with Skaro is they
just
didn't,
now knowing
they
new
didn't decif-
who I can see.
They didn't define when he destroyed Skaro. Because it almost seems like they destroyed Skaro before the Daleks existed.
Well, that was a point that I brought up, is that if you look at it from Earth date 1963, he sends this the Hand of Omega, the Omega device, to destroy Skaro, which now shouldn't exist in the future when his previous First Doctor
Exactly.
self
That's the
takes
problem I
off
have with it. We don't know if the
and
hand
ends
of,
up on Skaro
We don't
in
have
the
no-
future, which is clearly made that it's several
Yeah.
thousand years in the several million years, not millions, but several hundreds of thousands of years in the future.
We don't know if the hand of
How is that
Omega
still around if Earth date 1963 destroyed it?
Exactly. We don't know if they didn't clarify that the hand of Omega travels forward in the future also.
I don't think it travels forward into the future because the Daleks on the ship in Earth orbit comment on the destruction of Skaro.
Right.
They're aware of what happened, and then it loops back around to come back and
we don't talk
feedback
about
and blow them
and
up.
we don't talk about time corridors. We don't talk about
There's
any
no-
sort
yeah,
of
There's
time.
absolutely no discussion
change.
of it.
Yeah.
So that causes a huge continuity error. Or continuity issue.
If we work under the assumption that Earth date 1963 is a
Nexus
fixed,
point?
a fixed launch point for whatever adventure you're going to go have in the future. I mean, it could be that you traveled into the future of Earth, and that's completely different from the future of Skaro. I can write it off from the standpoint that, as we covered the Night in the Doctor stories, when he talks about time is being rewritten, everybody's memories are different because time is constantly changing, and you have memories of a party you didn't go to, or of someone you just met, but you feel like you've known them your whole life because all these things are going on behind the scenes. And in a way, I can kind of justify that in the web of time Doctor Whoism of it, that I don't have to have a printed map that says this is when this event happened and this is when this event happened. I agree with you guys. It does create a huge continuity hole, but
I do have a problem with the continuity issue, but I subscribe to the theory that Skaro was not truly destroyed. The Omega device goes into Skaro's sun to create the chain reaction that's supposed to destroy Skaro, but I believe something else happened there that we don't see off camera that the Doctor's not even aware of at that point. Because, I mean, that lends to the fact that we still have a
makes
time
more
war,
sense to me.
which isn't really set in stone when that's happening based on, reality time as well. So
considering it's called a time war, I'm assuming it takes place over multiple time periods.
Yeah, but I also like the idea that perhaps what the Doctor triggering the Omega device is what starts the time war. So the Doctor not only has to end the war, but he is also the trigger for the war, which I think is kind of cool.
That is kinda cool.
Well, and Russell T. Davies, and we'll get more into this when we get into the Time War and
yes.
Death, but Russell T. Davies has said that in his mind, the first shot fired in the Time War is the Time Lord sending the Doctor back to alter
In
Dalek
Genesis, yes.
In Genesis.
DNA in Genesis.
Yes.
That is the first strike.
Agreed.
And I totally subscribe to that theory. So when you put that up with these three, we now have a very long history of the Doctor meddling with the Daleks, and so it's almost like that's the Time War burden is his to bear, and he accepts that because of everything that's gone on, and I love that aspect of it. What if the Hand of Omega, because it's a stellar manipulator, and Davros wants it because it's going to give the Daleks time travel? What if the Doctor reprograms it, it goes back there, does whatever it does to Skaro's sun, and then comes back and implodes, and he says it's on its way to Gallifrey. But what if whatever it did to that supernova is inadvertently what gave them time travel powers to start the Time War?
Well, that could be.
Oh, that's very
that's not what even started the Time War, because they were chasing.
Yeah,
they were chasing through time. I mean, conquering Earth, obviously, and doing that kind of thing. But yes, I like the idea that that's what gave them time travel.
That's maybe what finally gives them the... And we don't know that it makes it back to Gallifrey either. We're just taking it.
We're just taking it. A lot of that happens off camera.
The other thing is, since the Time War is so much off camera, we don't know if any of the Time War was actually centered on Skaro or not.
Yes, right.
They could have been a roving band of Daleks, fleets of ships across the galaxy with no home base.
That's true.
So...
Well, an extensive archive for this weekend for our 50th episode, but we're running over 3.5 hours now. So we're going to wrap this up. Let's talk real quickly about what's coming up next week.
Real quickly, next week, Friday Night Who, we're going to do the end of season or series 4 with David Tennant and Catherine Tate. It'll be the Stolen Earth and Journey's End. So please join us for that double feature. And then we're going to talk about it next week because we kind of feel that those two are important episodes.
Those are big episodes.
But big ones, and we're going to try and get Keith to watch them prior to Friday Night Who so that he can tweet and not feel like he's missing something.
Right.
And Sarah can't join, so we are going to try to watch it ahead of time anyways. So...
And I'll get the rest of the schedule posted up through the end of the year for those that have been asking, wanting to know what's coming up so that you can plan on that.
Plan ahead.
And we'll get the achievement list posted and this episode posted. We've got all kinds of good
picture
stuff.
and
Pictures.
the video.
Lots of
and
stuff connected, and I've got notes, so make sure.
And as always, if you would like to send us feedback, you can do so through the website, which is www.travelingthevortex.com. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on the Google Voice, all
Google
that
Plus.
information.
Google Plus
Google Plus now.
too,
Yep.
yes.
On there.
We've joined the Google Plus revolution.
And did you answer Phil's question on that? I saw he sent you a tweet, I believe, about how did we get us on there.
I'll have to go back and look. Cause
He directed it to you, I presume, but you've been off the grid, so
Yeah,
maybe you
I
haven't seen
have.
it.
So I'll take a look.
I'll have him look into that, Phil.
Anyway, that's going to do it for us this week.
Thanks
for
for putting up with our lengthy
50th episode. Until next time, until 51. I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everyone.
Be seeing you.
We actually did it right for the 50th. That's awesome.
We did it.
Sweet. You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.